What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the SuperScope podcast, your wrap up in this week's gaming stories. We're back with episode 26 on Sunday, April 3rd, 2022. I am your host, Retro Game Dude, and of course, joining me as always is my co host, Daisuke Aurora. Feel free to join the discussion live on Twitch or Discord. If you're watching this on YouTube, tap and like that subscribe button, and make sure you don't miss us live next time. We do this every Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So like and subscribe on YouTube. And we also have an audio version of this on Stitcher, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. So what do we have going on this week? How you been doing this week?
I'm doing good. Playing
Nice.
playing video games and surviving for another week. It feels like this week came very fast.
It did.
Personally, it feels like we just did the podcast. And I
I
was like doing stuff today, and I'm like, yeah, podcast day. And I'm like, shit, really? Podcast day? I was like, we just did podcast day, right?
Right.
Like 2 or 3 days ago. Like,
It goes quicker when you do them consecutively on a Sunday when we're scheduled.
yeah. When we're scheduled.
But yeah,
That's what it was.
this week blew the fuck by. Like it was
Yeah, it
just like,
did.
phew. I don't know what happened with that one, but yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
we definitely got some gaming out of our system. At least I did. Hopefully you did as well.
Yeah, I've been putting a lot of time into.
That's cool. Ooh, I kind of want to burp. But it's not coming out. So we're gonna do state of the stream. So yeah, we played a lot of Jackbox last night. A little bit slower than previous nights, but it's nice out. People want to get outside, and this is probably like the first time in 2 years people are getting out. So I get it.
Sure. Oh yeah.
The Jackbox Discord itself, the official one, seemed pretty slow as well. So I get it. It is what it is. But hopefully next week we'll see a bigger turnout. You were not feeling well yourself, but you got a chance to play Tunic. So how did that go?
I did. I played it when I got it a few days ago, and I've been playing it pretty much every night.
Nice.
But I've also been doing this weird thing the last couple of nights where like I've been getting pretty shot by like 12 o'clock, 12:30.
Mm-hmm.
Like not, I don't know what it is. I've been getting tired earlier, and then waking up at like 7 or 8 o'clock for no reason, and being like, all right, this is my life, I guess. So that's been a thing. But yeah, I probably put. I mean, I don't have it up right now, but I probably put like maybe 10 hours into Tunic the last 3 or 4 nights, something like that. And
How you like
that's
it?
been awesome so far. I'm not sure how far you got, or if I'm further than you or behind you or whatever.
I haven't played since I showed you the game, so I'm guessing
Okay,
you're probably pretty significantly ahead of me at this point.
probably yeah. It's been pretty good. I mean, it's what's a good way to say it? I don't want to say it's a Souls-like because
It has some
that's
Souls
so
mechanics.
it's such like a played out way to call it, but it
Right.
is
Well, if they have like
like
games called like roguelites, maybe it's a Souls light. Maybe that's
well, yeah, because it's not that punishing. If you
it's
die,
not.
you
Right.
lose like 20 gold, and you can just say screw it and not go back.
Right.
And when you die, the thing that you leave behind, the shell of yourself, when you pick it up, it blows up and hurts everything around you. I mean, I'm sure you've noticed it
Mm,
hurts everything that's nearby and stuff. But also, it's solid, so you can actually hide behind it if enemies are like shooting at you and stuff.
gotcha.
Um, and and the game has more of an RPG style progression. Like you can actually spend those points. You can burn those items to level up and stuff.
Hmm.
Your individual stats, your attack, defense, magic. Um, which not always, but traditionally Souls games or like roguelike games in general don't give you that kind of carryover progression where like you can
Sure.
get better over time.
Right.
It's usually like the stuff that you're wearing. A lot of like games like Valheim, like yeah, you have like your skills get better as you do the same thing over and over again, but it almost never matters. You just
Right. Your
like
stats are
you
largely based on your armor.
right. You could be level 30 in all your stats, and you're pretty much just as dead to a troll as you would be at level 1 or whatever. Um, but Tunic is very much it's I guess I'll have to wait until I'm finished with it to give like a final say on it. It's a mixed bag for me. I really enjoy it,
Hmm.
but there's things about it that I don't like.
That's fair.
But I'm trying not to be like a game designer and pick at game design parts of it. So a lot of Tunic's puzzles are like visually obscured, where
Hmm.
like if you walk around the side of a building, you'll go behind it, and there'll be a whole thing to do behind it. It'll go somewhere else. You'll find a path to another area or whatever. And that's smart, but the game does that constantly. Every
Hmm.
5 seconds, it's like I have to walk behind this wall and check this corner and check this corner and check this corner. And
You're just
I get
constantly
why they're
cornering the game.
well, like I get why they're doing it because it's in Zelda. Those moments where you find a secret like that is cool. But in Tunic, the game has you try and look for those secrets every 5 steps, and in some cases they're like mandatory to get to the next part or like
Sure.
progress. And it's like, I remember, I forget who it was, but there was a game designer who once mentioned that like smart game design is to give people all the pieces to a puzzle and make them figure out how to put it together. Bad game design is for people to walk up to a puzzle and not have all the answers up front, and they don't know if they can even solve the puzzle or not. And so it's a mixed bag because telling players like, hey, you're going to have to look behind corners and look around buildings and behind everything because we visually hide a lot of things. You are telling the player what to look out for, but repeatedly like scouring the walls of every room isn't fun gameplay for me. It's like the least fun part of Tunic is taking the extra time to like walk along all the walls and be like, is there going to be a thing here? And sometimes it's in the middle of like a dark hallway. There's just a random hallway off of it in the middle that goes to like a random chest. And you're like, okay, cool. But like when you're not finding secrets and you're just walking along the walls every other 5 feet, it's like kind of boring. Especially because in Tunic, you're not fast. Like even when you're running, you're not that fast. You're like, you'll clear a room and then you'll be like, all right, I got to do the thing. And then you like
kind of trace the outline of the whole room.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then after 20 seconds of walking the whole room and there's nothing, you're like, okay, there was nothing. And then half the time when you do find stuff, it's like money, and you're like, okay, but I could have just killed dudes for this. You know what I mean? It feels overused, I guess. But it's weird because that doesn't bother me that much. I think it's more me as a game designer nitpicking something that bugs me as a game designer. Like, it hasn't bugged me enough to like stop playing or anything, so I guess it's not that bad. But
that's a fair criticism, and that's why we have this podcast. So I feel like
exactly
we're doing the job that we're here to do.
But outside of that, it's very much it gives me Zelda 1 vibes, and obviously it's supposed to with the way he's dressed and the way that the game looks and everything. 100%. But just like you do have that sense of like I don't exactly know where I'm going, and even the instruction manual is kind of cryptic. It gives you bits of information.
It is,
and you're like, okay, like dude, I played 2 nights straight, like 7 hours, 6 hours, and I just had missed that you could offer up like the things to the fire to upgrade your stats. And the kids were playing on their file. They started playing, and they found the page, and the page was like, "Give the things to the fire to upgrade your stats." And I was like, "Wait, really?" I had never done it. I had no idea. So it's interesting how like because the game doesn't tutorial very much, it's easy to miss entire mechanics like that.
Right. Well, I feel like the instruction manual is kind of like the built-in tutorial that you progress and get along, but if you miss pages, you can miss a whole very important mechanic in the game.
Yeah, and I just completely spaced on. I must have looked at the page and then looked away from it and not thought about it or something. I don't know.
Gotcha.
But it is cool how there are mechanics in the game that like I've killed 2 bosses so far, and they're very much a Souls boss. The thing can kill you in 2 hits. Blocking only helps a little bit because they pretty much burn your stamina bar in 1 or 2 hits. So like you can't really just turtle up the whole time. You've got to be evading, and you've got to be poking them when you can. And it's interesting. It definitely feels like a Souls fight, but it doesn't have that punishment of like, well, you died, sucks for you. You have to go back and do the thing again. Because like losing your body doesn't really matter. So So it's interesting how it takes like the mechanic from like Hollow Knight or other games of that nature, and it just says like, we did it, but like we did it to the minimal impact to the point where like you don't even have to really interact with it if you don't want to.
Right.
Which is nice, especially for a game like that where you're exploring. If you go to a place that's too strong for you and you get killed, that's one thing that sucks about games like Valheim is going to a place where you're not supposed to be and getting killed, and then being like, now I have to go back because all my stuff is there. Right. Whereas in this game, if you go to like, I wandered into an area with like dudes with sniper rifles and big swords, and they like 2-shot me, and I was like, yeah, no, we're not going back there. And it didn't matter. I lost 20 gold. I was like, whatever. It literally didn't matter in the slightest.
Yeah, things with like Valheim, even if you are in an area where you're well established to be, if you happen to get killed because you get overrun by mobs, you're fucked. You're you're making that walk back, and you better hope you have friends online playing it, because other than otherwise you're in really shit trouble.
I told you the 2 occasions. The one I died on the snowy mountain, and there was like an ice dragon, and I had to keep running back up the mountain and dying until I eventually managed to get my stuff and then run back down with it.
And that's just
and then it happened. that happened again in I found one of those plains biomes where I don't know if you remember, but there was like the plains with the little goblin dudes and the big buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
And the goblins hurt, but there's also like mosquitoes, and the mosquitoes will like one
The
shot you, even
mosquitoes
with
will
armor and
one shot
shit.
you. Yes.
Yeah. And once I got killed by that mosquito, it patrols that area. So like my only option was I kept having to go in the woods, run along the woods until I was alongside the plains biome, as close
Right.
as I could get to my stuff, and then either try and sneak out to it or fucking mad dash out to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then even then, half the time it doesn't work that well because you run up to your stuff, even if you have nothing on you, you run up and you grab your stuff, and it doesn't just grab everything and put it on. The game is like, um, if you have that belt that gives you extra storage weight and you're not wearing it anymore, you go to pick up your body and it's like, what do you want to put on? And you're like, I want to put on all of it. I want to take everything like I was. And the game's like, well, you're not wearing the belt. And you're like, give me the belt, put on the belt, give me the rest of my shit. Like, it sucks, dude.
Yeah. It doesn't feel good to die in that game.
And if you get killed doing that, it's the worst because then there's two corpses there, and you have to figure out which one's the empty one or fucking whatever. It's they made it better by making the corpse run thing where like when the game realizes that you're doing a corpse run, it gives you extra carry weight to make up for not having the belt on.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes that doesn't help because if you're far enough away, the game just goes, well, you have 60 seconds of corpse run, and you're like,
doesn't help.
It's a 2-minute run to my body, and the game is like, well, that's not our problem. And you're like, oh, okay, great, thanks. Like, so yeah, I mean, that's a whole different thing. But Tunic in general, I think handles its mechanics and its exploring pretty well. I obviously am only partway through the game, so I can't give like a final call on it. But as of right now, it's good enough to keep me coming back every night over everything else I could play.
Very cool.
And that's obviously a good sign.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying it. I knew you would enjoy it. I know Dark said he was going to go play it at some point this week, so I'm hoping to get his feedback on it. I just think it's one of those games where it's got something for everyone there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you're only a Call of Duty player or something, but it's definitely a little bit of something everyone. If you like art aesthetic, if you like soundtrack, I mean that stuff really jumps out. If you like Zelda-like adventure RPGs, I mean that's there for you. So I can't really promote that game enough. And
and some mechanics are really smart. Like I was mentioning to you, like the more you use like things like the ice bombs, fire bombs, and like regular bombs, the game will start to give you like an automatic like on my bombs right now. I think my bombs are +2 and my ice bombs are +1, which means that even if I don't have any, if I go back to its checkpoint, it will refill me like 2 bombs and an ice bomb, even though I don't have any at all. It'll give you some as if like they're your potions. Like it starts to become refillables.
Sure.
So as you get through the game to the harder parts, the game will just like every time you hit a save point, the game will just be like, here's a couple of bombs or here's this ice bomb, and it's based on what you use. The more you use those things, the more you start to rack up free ones that are refillable.
Sure.
So it's a solution for like a lot of games like that. Like we talked about, like Valheim or inventory based, where like if your inventory is empty, it sucks to be you. But in this game, you at least have that like, near the end of the game, I could hit a save station and refill and have like 3 of this, 2 of this, 2 of this as a built-in reusable because I've been using them so much throughout the game. And it's again like we talked about in Ghostwire, it keeps me from wanting to hoard things. Normally I'd be like, I got a thing, I don't want to spend it, I don't even know if I'm going to need it later or what it does. Whereas now it's like, well, because I've been spending them, the game has given me some refillable versions of it now. So it's a good way to fix that problem.
I wonder if you could just like burn through those potions, deliberately die, and just keep cycling it out so you get more potions. I wonder if that's a thing.
The potions don't do it, no. It's so far I've only seen it on the different types of bombs that you can throw.
Oh, okay. I thought the potions did it too. Okay.
No, the potions you can find full potions in chests, and you can find fragments of potions in chests and make it's like heart containers. You can make a potion out of 3 of them. But yeah, there's all kinds of cool stuff. Once you get into the systems are really well done. Yeah, I mean, if you're listening, play it yourself. I can't. I mean, if you have a PC or an Xbox, it's on Game Pass for like $1. Like, go try it. I bought it on Steam for the full 30. I tend to like to just straight up pay developers when I can get away with it, which I was able to this time. So
sure. Oh, that's good.
But not to say Game Pass doesn't pay them. Game Pass also obviously pays them as well. But
yeah, no doubt. Yeah, so we got some stuff coming up this week. I'm gonna try and do one tomorrow. I've got Game Boy Advances. We're gonna be putting screens in. So stay tuned for that. Nice. I also have This one here in a Ziploc bag, it smells like an ashtray, so it's going to stay in that Ziploc bag until we're ready to do it. The nice thing is this thing's getting a complete reshell. I mean, the eBay auction, it's missing a battery door. The screen looks like it was hit with a belt sander, which is fine because all I need is the motherboard out of it. It's going to get a complete overhaul. And then that's going to get that backlit screen treatment in it too. So that one's going to be probably a later in the month project. I'm going to do the Toys R Us one here. So the Toys R Us one, obviously we want to keep that Toys R Us lens because this one's a little bit more coveted for collectors. We're going to put a no solder backlit screen kit in this one so that it can be reversed without troubling the screen or anything like that. So, or having the solder mess up the board or anything like that. So that'll be a completely reversible one in case a collector wants to revert that back. So yeah, look forward to that. I'll be doing a stream on that either here or TikTok. I'm not really sure yet. And I'll obviously post in the Discord more about that. So if you're not part of the Discord yet, what's up, Dabby? If you're not part of the Discord yet, here's the link. Feel free to hop in. And if you're on YouTube watching this, there's a chain of links you can follow to find me. And of course, we'll be back Saturday doing Jackbox. This week, I think I'll be doing Destiny 2 on Tuesday, and then I'll probably be doing Borderlands on Wednesday. Borderlands is definitely taking up a little bit more of my time, and Destiny's kind of slowing down for the season. I'll probably still be playing it a lot off stream. It's just, it is what it is. Dabby, how are you doing tonight? It's good to see you in the chat. So games I'm playing this week, of course, obviously Destiny 2, Tiny Tina's Wonderland. That is a phenomenal game. The only downside of that game I've seen so far really is the network connections, and playing multiplayer has really been a tremendous issue. And it's there were server issues when it first came out, which, I mean, that's to be expected with games anymore. But there just seems to be continuous multiplayer issues. But other than that, it's a really good game. I enjoy it. I think it's probably the best Borderlands we've had so far. It's certainly they've done a 180 since Borderlands 3, which I just think was just kind of But yeah, I'm having fun with it. Got to play a little bit of Astria Ascending. It's a 2D side-scroll RPG kind of game. If you're familiar with Dragon's Crown, it's basically the same people that did that, and then I think another studio kind of got together with them. I don't remember the details on that, but it's a great game. I would highly suggest playing that. Interesting mechanics, interesting storyline. You kind of start out as this Justice League of weird species kind of thing. They're called demigods, and the battle system is really interesting. You can switch out your whole team, almost similar to Final Fantasy X. So you can kind of live switch your party if you want to. So that's pretty cool. The artwork's phenomenal. Soundtrack again. That's where I come in. It's got this I don't know, Art Deco-y look, but futuristic at the same time. I definitely enjoy that. So yeah, very cool. And of course, playing Luminous Arc before I go to bed. So I'm about 8 to 10 hours into that game. Another tactical RPG. So having fun with that, of course. I haven't played that in a couple of years, but I wanted to play that so I can go through, Luminous Arc 2 and 3 as well. Do the whole series run. So
there you go.
That's what I've got going on this week. What do we have? Social media accounts: Game Dude Retro at Twitter and Instagram, and Retro Game Dude at Twitch and TikTok. So I can stream over at TikTok now. I just haven't gotten a chance to. Thought I was going to last week, but I got to find a nice tripod, I think, for my camera before I do anything crazy on there. So
right,
I have one. I just got to order it, basically.
There you go. It inspired me to start doing mine. I started putting random videos
I saw.
I had on my phone.
Yeah, man, that's great. I'm glad that you put some good content up there.
It's mostly just random stuff. What I seem to get mostly? I mostly seem to get games screwing up, because that's what catches my attention to be I should record this.
Yeah.
So what did I get? I got the Pokemon one. There was a Voltorb and a what's his name? Gligar. And their names were switched for some reason. The Voltorb said Gligar over it, and the Gligar said Voltorb, but the B was still on Voltorb, so it said Gligarb or Glygab, and then the other guy was just called Voltor. I don't know. And then I got the one I just put one up today. It was Super Metroid. So you played Super Metroid, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So the part where you've got the bird and he's supposed to teach you how to speed boost or how to shine spark, because as you're running across one section, your speed boost breaks the floor and you fall through. And then down there, the bird is there, the ostrich thing, and he's running back and forth and doing the shine spark.
Mm-hmm.
and he's supposed to teach you how to shine spark without just the game just telling you outright. Because if you mimic him, if you run, crouch, jump, you'll shine spark, and that's how you get out. And he sits there and he does that. He runs back and forth in a loop, and he shine sparks, and then he runs back and forth. But he doesn't break the blocks, obviously, because he's an NPC. But if you do it at the right timing, and I didn't mean to do it, but if you do it at the same time as him, you'll go with him, and you'll break the blocks, and he'll come through with you. And then as the blocks regenerate, he'll get stuck where you are.
Huh.
And he's programmed to run like left until he hits a wall, right until he hits the exact like whatever Y coordinate or something, X coordinate, and then he tries to jump. So I got footage of him just running back and forth in the little strip of land that I'm on, and then hitting the ceiling, and then running back and forth and hitting the ceiling.
That's funny.
And he's stuck there until I let him down. Yeah, he's stuck there until you let him down. So like until you break it again for him. It's really weird. I don't know. I don't think I could replicate it again if I wanted to. You've got to do it at exactly the right time so that you both go up like right on top of each other.
Nice.
Oh, it's wild.
Debbie said he's doing good. Just got done stacking the bounties for Tuesday. Got 64 bounties already to turn in. Attaboy.
Jesus. There you go.
That's what's up.
That'll do it.
All right, let's get into. We got a long, big, juicy episode coming up here. So we're gonna dig it right into it. We have subscriber games for not March, April. So we have our PS Plus games. We have, I put mood. It's Hood, Outlaws and Legends. I'm guessing it's a Robin Hood game. I don't know too much about it. Battle for Bikini Bottom, Rehydrated, and Slay the Spire. This is on PlayStation Plus, if I didn't say that already. Slay the Spire seems like that's kind of the heavy hitter of this selection. I would say not certainly a little bit of an improvement over the last couple months. I think last month they did a really good job with their lineup. But Slay the Spire is, what I'm told, a very good game. I have not yet to play it. I own it on, I think, 2 systems now, and I have yet to touch it. So maybe it's time to do that.
I think it's on my wish list on Steam, but I haven't got it yet. But I know it's one of those things that everybody says I should play because I like card games, obviously, and the mechanics of it are supposed to be really interesting. So I'll have to check that out myself at some point. I mean, I guess if it's on Plus, I'll just grab it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird how like Plus started the year really strong, right? Because January was like Persona Strikers and Deep Rock Galactic in the same set, I think.
Yeah, and then the next month was really weird. They had like Tiny Tina's DLC from Borderlands 2, and I'm like, that was like the best thing in that lineup, and I'm like, this isn't great because it's DLC.
And then like, and then one of them was like one of them was like the gods. What is it? Godslayer.
God's Fall.
It was like a God's Fall demo version thing. Yeah.
The end game.
It was like okay, like the end game. I was like, okay, cool.
Just the end game.
So it was weird for a while, sure.
It's
been a weird few months with that.
Yeah. But obviously we saw a big announcement with PlayStation Plus, and we'll talk about that later in the show. We'll go over those details too.
Oh yeah, did you see PlayStation acquired Olive Garden?
Absolutely
did. Wild.
Indeed. All right, so let's move on. Games with Gold. We have another site, Hugh Outpost Kalaki. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And MX vs ATV Alive. Yeah. Obviously, Microsoft is done taking Games of Gold seriously. They're saying it's a $74 value. Right.
Jesus.
So
a $185 value.
Yeah, because we said so. I don't know what the big title there is.
It's probably MXATV, honestly.
Maybe, yeah.
If I remember correctly, when I was at GameStop, for some reason those games hold their value forever. I don't get it, but like you could probably bring that game to GameStop right now, and you'd probably still get like between $5 and $10 for it, which is crazy for a 360 game. Right?
I almost wonder if it's because it's a sporting game that doesn't come out every year. So
I think it's something like that. I think is it THQ, right?
Yes.
I feel like they never sell the game. Like, I mean, what I mean is they never put it on sale. So, like, the value of the game is considered to always be high. Nintendo does this. Nintendo's games go on sale almost never, and when they do go on sale, like first party, it's like $20 off, and it's like only digital, right? Like, Nintendo will be like, oh, buy it through the eShop, it's $40. And as a result, if you bring like a Switch game that's first party to like GameStop at any point in its entire life, it'll always be like $20 or more. because Nintendo's got this lock on like our games will always be worth money,
Yeah,
so therefore they're always worth money. Like it's just like it's a
it's a
weird circular
price
inherent
fix.
thing.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you'll
yeah,
like you
absolutely.
go to GameStop and you find like a Nintendo game that's like a Nintendo first party title that's used. It's going to only be like $5 off, maybe 10 at the most,
Yeah, absolutely.
compared to like the new version of it, unless it's in like ass condition or something like that.
Oh, I stand slightly corrected. I looked up ATV Alive and it's now $2. So I guess it finally burst that bubble.
Yeah, so not exactly, I would say, a killer lineup there, but obviously Microsoft's got all their nickels and dimes in Game Pass right now, and
Yeah.
so funny thing with Game Pass, how they like to always announce late. I thought that they would have it out by now, considering it's already the third, but no. The only thing that we really have is MLB The Show 2022 coming out and Chinatown Detective Agency. I saw some rumors floating around that a bunch of the Call of Duties were coming out, like Black Ops Cold War, Modern Warfare Remastered, Diablo 2 Remastered is apparently coming, and then a bunch of Metal Gear games. So we have Rising Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, and Phantom Pain,
That's
and
cool.
Metal Gear Survive. This is all rumors, of course, so I can't really corroborate any of this, but um,
Sure.
Microsoft for some reason hasn't announced all the Game Pass titles for this month yet. I don't know if they were trying to separate themselves from April Fools or what their plan was
Right.
there, but we did get
Oh
news that
man.
they're going to be offering like a family plan pricing um, soon moving forward. So I guess we'll make that call or make that announcement too when we find out about that too. So
There you go.
yeah.
We'll have to see if we can dig up that meme of Metal Gear Rising with Raiden, where he's like, "Why don't you give me a source, Senator?" And the senator's like, "I made it the fuck up." Like,
Nice.
I love that
Pretty
one.
much.
That's my
So
favorite.
if you're into Call of Duty or Call of Duty Modern Warfare or the Metal Gear Rising or even Diablo, don't get your hopes up. It's just a rumor. And we
Hmm.
know what we've seen with rumors already. We've even seen pricing supposedly leak for the new PlayStation stuff, and it was not even
Yeah.
close. So moving on.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Wild.
Moving on. Is the chip shortage coming to an end? Um, So in the news, I've noticed he saw the picture. In the
Oh
news, like
boy.
in Twitter and a bunch of other places, I've noticed PS5 doubled their sales on Famitsu's sales charts from last week to this week, going
Mhm.
from 14,000 to 32,000 units moved. Um, and then also, I noticed Wario64 announced that the Xbox Series X was in stock on Amazon. That was
Mhm.
on his Twitter account, of course. And there was a big mention of manufacturers, specifically CEOs of like certain card manufacturer companies, saying that expect big price drops coming soon. I checked on that Xbox Series X. I was watching it for a couple days. I'm like, should So I just bought a stupid vacuum robot, and I was like, should I buy this? Should I buy this? It's like, no, I can't buy a vacuum robot and an Xbox at the same time. But I was watching
Right.
that sale, and like they just went out of stock today, and I think he mentioned that either on like I think he mentioned that on Tuesday. So that was almost a full week where Xbox Series X was in stock on Amazon. Um,
Yeah. I was. I went to GameStop the other day. They had PlayStations in.
mhm,
Like I think company wide they had them in for like a day.
yeah,
I mean, it was your standard GameStop like only pro members have access, and it was like $800 because it was like a PlayStation plus a year of plus like 100 and something dollars of DLC cards. It was some garbage bundle they always do,
mhm,
but I mean they were there, so I guess that's a thing.
sure. But we're also seeing eBay prices for video cards and scalpers and stuff. It's 2 months in a row where we've seen 12% drops on prices. So obviously, crypto abandoning hardware mining and stuff, that's playing a huge part in it. But overall, I think we're slowly starting to see like that dam break or that bottleneck end of chip shortages, and I think it's obviously going to be quiet because we don't want to get like feathers ruffled and people starting speculative buying again. But I would say, if you're in the market for a PlayStation 5, you don't have one yet, or if you're in the mood or you're in the market for like an RTX and you're just waiting for that PC build, I would say throw some more patience out. I know it sucks if you don't have one yet, but um, I think we're on the horizon here of seeing some pretty big price drops, and don't feed the scalpers. So
Hmm.
that's just kind of my advice
Absolutely.
there. I don't know if you have any input you want to throw in this, but that's kind of all I have for this one.
Um, I will point out that I've noticed the Xbox being in stores a lot, especially lately. Like
Hmm.
I'll just walk to like Target or Walmart or someone, and they'll have them in the shelf, like two or three of them at a time. Um, all that stuff seems like it's kind of kicking back here and there around. I've
Sure.
noticed VR sets have been like what is it? The Quest has been showing up. Quest 2 has been showing up a lot.
Hmm.
Um, and dude, you know what I saw? I saw an article today that was like, oh, like what we know about the PlayStation 6. And I was like, dear God, just shut the fuck up,
We
please.
don't
Like
need
we're
that.
not even the 5 isn't even like available
Right.
still like readily. You still can't walk into a store and get a 5 and you can tell me about the 6. Like, please.
We already had, because of shitting journalism like that, we already had the Xbox and the PlayStation 5 released like a year early, more than they should have.
Oh, not just that, but like look at what happens with like the Switch. Remember, like some random outlet will grab a rumor and be like, "I heard there's a Switch Pro," and then we had like 2 years back to back where it was like Switch Pro, not actually a thing, and then Switch Pro again, and then like here's the OLED Switch, and people were like, "Why didn't you give us the Switch Pro we were asking for?" And
Right.
it was like, "You guys made that up. You made it up yourselves. Like, what
Yeah,
do you
you
want
got,
from
yeah,
them?" Like,
exactly. They didn't say anything. They just said that there was like another Switch on the horizon. They didn't say anything about a
right?
Pro. It's like y'all ran with that. And then,
People
dude,
hype
it wasn't even
themselves
like
up so
2 weeks
much.
later. Like, okay, well, the Switch OLED's out. So what are we expecting for the Switch Pro next year? And it's like, do you
Yeah,
people
yeah.
never fucking learn?
And it's so funny because like I just love watching people be like, and you see this. Unfortunately, a lot of games lately have that like the hype builds up to like nuclear levels, and then when something happens, they're like, "Well, how could this have happened?" And it's like, "Oh, I don't
Right.
know." Like maybe because you guys freaked out about everything that you saw about it. I mean, like, dude, we have games that don't even have footage. Look at what is it, Starfield, where it's like we have no footage of this game yet, and people were like, "It's gonna be the best game ever. It's gonna be
Yeah,
like
like,
a
oh, I
thousand
can't
times
wait
better
for
than
this game to take
Fallout."
up my time like Skyrim
Yeah,
did. I'm like,
and
phew.
then you're like, dude, Jesus, like, don't you remember? You don't remember like when they showed us Anthem for the first time, and they like made footage of the game to show us because the developers hadn't made anything yet, and
Yes.
they were like, yeah, here it is, Anthem, and we were like, oh my god, it looks so, it's the Destiny killer, it looks amazing, and then the game didn't exist yet.
How
Like,
many times have we seen Destiny killers, man?
oh man, and I feel bad too because like. Yeah, Destiny Killer is such a meme because people are always like Destiny Killer, and it's like, dude, if anything ever kills Destiny, it's gonna be Destiny. If anything, they'll make a mistake so bad that they bury their own game. Nothing else is gonna derail that game.
Yeah,
It's the non Call of Duty Call of Duty. It's one of those games that unless they botch themselves into the grave,
100%.
it's very unlikely that something's gonna kill that game. Look at World of Warcraft. Remember, every other RPG that came out was a Warcraft killer, and then what ended up doing World of Warcraft in World of
Warcraft.
Warcraft? Like,
Yep.
yeah, like 15 years later, the only
WoW
thing that killed them
tokens.
was their own game. I mean, dude, Final Fantasy 14 was a fantastic game for the last two expansions running, three expansions running, 4, 6 years, 5 years, whatever.
Hmm.
And at no point was it like killing World of Warcraft until World of
Right.
Warcraft buckled under its own mistakes. Like,
And now, strangely, World of Warcraft is retconning all of their story, and now it's mysteriously very similar to an RPG
yeah,
we play.
yeah. I love the like. Did we mention that there was actually this group of people who've been working to do these things the whole time, and you've been fighting them the whole time? It's
Hmm.
just like Final Fantasy. You've been fighting the villains the whole time. We just told you about them for the first time, but like they were totally there. Trust me, they were there.
Right, right.
Oh my god, I love it. I can't wait for them to just like rework the game in 2 years and be like, wait a minute. Turns out the entire time, all these other groups we've been fighting that are bad guys have actually been working under the mysterious orders of some stranger that we don't know yet, who's trying to steal this ball that powers all the Warcraft heroes that you also didn't know about till now.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll call it the Journeyer. And so, like, the mysterious villain is trying to take the Journeyer. Are you still with us? What? Destiny? No, no, no,
Yeah,
no, no,
yeah.
no.
And
We've added the shooting mechanics, though.
right. And the Alliance and then the Orcs, they're all under one banner now, and they live in the one city that's left.
Yeah, the last city.
And there's 10 missions you get to do every week ad nauseum.
And there's a smarmy like smart aleck dude named Clade
Right.
who's got a pet hamster that he calls like the colonel. No, the general. Oh, okay, we'll go. Ooh, we almost did a thing there.
Oh, no. We did. All
But
right.
no,
Well,
it's I think like going like the chip shortage. I think I don't know. I don't pay enough attention to this to say if it's like over or not. I hate to say it. That's one thing I don't really do research on.
mhm.
Based on anecdotes and personal experience, I've had more opportunities to buy those consoles in the last week than the last year combined. So
Yeah, you're not wrong.
it sure feels like it's opening up.
Yeah, the only thing that's like really competing against PlayStation 5's numbers right now is PlayStation 5 itself and its availability. And I think us seeing
Mhm.
the sales numbers double from one week to another is pretty indicative that they're either getting supply out there that they've had stocked up, or
Where scalpers are giving up, maybe.
scout. Well, I think that's a thing too. I know Japan's been very proactive as far as ripping labels off of boxes before people buy them at stores.
Yeah, did I read that they were opening boxes
Yes.
before retail to make sure they couldn't? Yeah, so they couldn't
When you
resell them
buy in
early.
retail, they'll cut the seal off the box so that you can't resell it as new. So
Yeah, yep. If you put it on like eBay or something, you have to
right.
list it as used.
I
Yeah,
mean, let's face it; those guys, even listing it as used, they're still going to probably sell it for more than retail. But I mean,
sure.
it's what else can they
I think
do,
it'll have an effect. I think you'll notice. That's tough.
right? All right. Well, let's
Man.
move on. Obviously, we're talking about PlayStation Plus earlier. Um, so we got some big pricing coming up. Obviously, they wanted the Project Spartacus was their quote unquote competitor to Game Pass. So they actually finally released some pricing the other day, and I have an enlarged graphic of that somewhere here. If I could find the right button, there we go. So PlayStation Plus Essential. So that's going to be $9.99 a month or $59.99 a year. This is basically what we have as PlayStation Plus now. Um, that comes with PlayStation Plus benefits, the free monthly games, online multiplayer, PlayStation Store discounts, what we've kind of grown to know and love with PlayStation Plus. The extra tier will be $14.99 a month or $99 a year quarterly, or I'm sorry, $99 a year. Everything in the essential tier plus 400 downloadable games out of the PlayStation 4 and 5 library. And the tier that's really got people talking is the premium tier that is $17.99 a month or $199 yearly. That is everything in all tiers, plus downloadable classic games from your PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation Portable. PlayStation 3 is streaming, of course, because cell processing basically shot themselves in the foot. Cell processing was probably the worst thing Sony has ever done to
Absolutely.
themselves. But we'll
Yeah.
move on real quick. PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1, PSP, PS4 games streaming to console and PC. So I'll be interested to see if that comes to their PlayStation phone app as well.
Mhm.
And then try before you buy game trials, which is kind of like a weird thing to have demos as part of a tier. That's I don't know about that, but
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, is that unless it's like a beta test thing where you get to provide feedback, that's not something I would flex on.
Right.
But obviously, like the big thing people are talking about here is the PlayStation 3 stuff, and obviously having like PlayStation Portable games. Um, the premium tier will have over 700 games available day one. So that's pretty goddamn impressive. So at $119.99 a year, is that of value to you? I don't know if it is for me. I'll probably at least try it out at this point. Since it's only a marginal upgrade, I'm already paying for the essentials. So I don't. We'll have to check it out,
Right.
and we'll obviously do a review of it. But
For
700
sure.
PlayStation games, man. There's a treasure trove there. I can guarantee you, especially if they're pulling PS1 and PS2 titles out. I'm very
Right.
anxious to see what they have available there.
Yeah. Likewise. I really, for me, it really comes down to because all the titles they pull from all these consoles is really good. It's going to break your bank because like
Mm-hmm.
it could be complete junk, which I really doubt they would do, or it could be like a gold mine, which I think they wouldn't do all gold mine because I imagine that's I don't know. I guess we'll see. I'd like to see Vita titles. I don't know if that would be counted under the PlayStation
I would like
Portable
to see Vita
generation,
titles too. I'm kind of
but
surprised it wasn't there because there's a lot of really good Vita titles that aren't there. But
yeah,
again, Sony likes to pretend the Vita never fucking existed, and I still don't understand why. So
yeah.
here we are.
I guess we'll see what the library looks like. I know like my problem that with like I have the same problem with this that I had with like Xbox was backward compatibility was like I played the games I wanted to play for the most part, and
Hmm.
sure, there's probably some that I would go back and play again or that I did miss playing, and that's fine. But in general, I have enough on my list as it is without trying to play games from the 90s or 2000s. But I will say that for a lot of people, especially if like you just got on the bandwagon in PS4, PS5 generation or something, that's
Sure.
incredible to be able to just go back and play like all the games that you never had to play or all the games that you missed or whatever. It could be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it.
Um,
There's probably a ton of games in the PlayStation One and PlayStation Two I never got to play just because time and money.
sure,
So
absolutely,
that's an option now. So there's stuff like the Bouncer, a great SquareSoft title apparently, that I never
yeah.
got to play. It was like a launch title for the PlayStation Two.
Huh.
So
Well, it definitely won't hurt. I mean, for me also, it comes down to what titles are in the extra versus what's in the premium. Because if the PS4, PS5 titles that are in extra are good titles, and the PS1, PS2, and PSP are like meh, or PS3 are like meh. Maybe going extra would be fine. I don't
Yeah,
know. I guess
extra might just be just enough for some people.
I guess we'll have to just wait and see what the titles look like. And I
Sure.
know this is another shining example of what we just talked about how as soon as people were like, dude, I kept seeing articles where they were like, did you know that PlayStation said they're going to make a thing like Xbox Game Pass? And it was like, yes, we know. And people were acting like it was brand new info. There was articles going up where they were like,
It was Game Informer.
PlayStation just announced Spartacus, and it was like a week old. And it's like, dude, we've known about this for like
No,
months,
it was
years.
Game
Like,
Informer released an article saying PlayStation needs to come up with some kind of competitor to the Game Pass.
oh yeah, they need to have a competitor, and it was like they have one. They're working. They've been talking about it.
Are you guys in the gaming industry? Is this your first day? Like, this is stuff that's been like 6 weeks old.
Wild, yeah.
Like they announced it back the end of last year,
Something
October.
Like that, yeah, we had rumors all the way as back summer, I think, and then we knew about it for sure. Like, before the year ended, they were like, "Yeah, Spartacus."
Right.
We were like, "Okay, yeah."
So from what I see, though, the premium tier is just basically the current PlayStation Plus PlayStation Now kind of smushed into one tier with a couple of extra perks. It's kind of what we expected. It's obviously a little staler than what Game Pass is offering right now. And as someone who's a little bit more akin to wanting to play on a PlayStation than an Xbox, I'll admit, it's not, I would say, not exactly inventive, but it's the thing. The time will tell with those 700 titles. I mean, that's where your meat and potatoes are with this. So I'm interested to see, if we have something like Final Fantasy Tactics, which hasn't been available.
Oh boy.
I mean, and stuff just like hard hitters like that. How would you love? I don't know if you're familiar with like Monster Hunter.
Oh yeah.
But not Monster Hunter. Of course,
Monster
Rancher. If you could use like your PlayStation disc system and throw discs in there and read those discs like you could back in the day to make fucking monsters. I don't know if you remember that mechanic, but you could. For anyone at home who doesn't know, Monster Rancher was a game on your PlayStation where you could, it's very similar but different to Pokemon, but you could use audio CDs, put them in your PlayStation, it would read it, you put the game CD back in, and then it would give you like a monster based off of like whatever that CD was. And there was a couple out there, like I think like the Men in Black soundtrack gave you like a really broken monster, and it was like it became like this thing, like on like GameFAQs where people would have like lists of like what CDs would do what, and then people would go out and buy those CDs just for those monsters. It was bizarre, but yeah, definitely a different kind of economy based game than most. So it was really interesting to see that all unfold. But that would be something cool to do in this day and age, wouldn't
it? Yeah, see, that's the thing for me is like, if we're gonna start putting Game Pass against PlayStation's whatever this is, the new PlayStation Plus, I guess, like, it's interesting because I feel like Xbox's library in general isn't great, especially the current generation. They like what are the exclusives on the current generation, like Forza,
right?
Do we even count Halo? It came straight to PC on launch, and like
so did Forza.
Nobody plays it.
So
it did, yeah. Okay, so what do we even need an Xbox for? Okay, I digress.
That's what I'm saying. Why would I buy an Xbox at this point in my life? I have Game Pass.
There's two factors for me. Yeah, absolutely. So there's two factors for me. One, if I get this premium tier and it says compatible on console and PC, if that entire 700 something games is available on my PC, I don't need a PlayStation unless there's like exclusive But even then, PlayStation does have exclusives. They will have PS5 exclusives. Yeah, that too. Mm-hmm. But like, I mean, PlayStation will have games that aren't on. Like, it feels like whenever Xbox puts a game out, it goes to Game Pass, right? And then if you have Game Pass, a lot of people just play it on Game Pass. On PlayStation, you don't do that. The games come out still on launch, and you still have to actually get them and everything. And for a lot of people, that's a debate too, because I think they mentioned like PlayStation said something like they don't want to put the games at launch because they don't think it's a good business model, like it's not viable.
I don't disagree with that.
Xbox only does it because they have all the money from Microsoft that they can get away with just eating it to help grow their install base.
Right.
But that's the thing is like 700 games in PlayStation. I feel like there could be a lot of good games in that library, and I don't think, unless you're trying to play current games that are coming out at launch, Game Pass doesn't seem like the way to go as a comparison. I think it's mostly going to be games I don't care about, and the library is extremely small in comparison.
Well, you even took a look at like what Jim Ryan said, like basically what mirroring off of what you said is that they think that their premium offerings of their games would suffer if they put them out day one on this
Yeah,
tiered system. And you look at what Game Pass has done to titles like Halo, um, they're not wrong. I mean, that game suffered a lot, and we're still, what is it, March, April, going into April, and 343 Studios is still completely directionless with what they want to do.
yeah.
Um, so I mean, it kind of like really puts there's some validity in what he's saying. I know it sucks that we're not getting
Right.
like premium titles day one, but I'd rather have a good game and pay a premium price for it, than
Sure.
have a shit game for free. I mean, if I want to play shit
Right.
games for free, I'll go play a game on my fucking mobile phone.
Sure. And I think I mentioned in passing in our one of our Discord conversations or something about like
Hmm.
this feels like the Walmart approach. Like one of the reasons Walmart gets away with like what they do, or like Amazon does this too, is like they can bully the little guy into the ground by cutting their price to the point where they're losing money on the product, but they can afford to lose money on the product for a long time, and the other guy can't. So like I'm sure you know the story with Amazon and like diapers.com that happened with that.
Hmm. They basically effectively put them out of business and then bought them.
They undercut them so hard they couldn't make money,
Right.
and Amazon was hemorrhaging money doing it, but they did it long enough that diapers.com just basically shut down, and then
Yeah.
they bought them. Walmart does that with mom and pop joints all the time. If you find,
That's
I
their
mean,
whole business model. It's
if
been for years.
even now, if you walk into a Walmart now, almost every new game on the shelf is $10 lower than retail, and they do it to undercut like places like Target, places like GameStop, any other retail place that sells
Right.
the game for retail, and especially mom and pop joints. If you go to a regular video game store, like GameStop's only making $7 on a new game. A mom and pop store cannot afford to drop that $60 game anywhere below 60. They just
Right.
can't. They wouldn't make any money on it. They wouldn't. But Walmart can afford to buy 1,000 copies of the new Call of Duty, put them on the shelves at a $3 loss each, knowing people are going to buy milk on the way out the door. They're going to buy a food on the way out the door, a frozen pizza, even
Right.
candy at the front register, sodas, dumb shit, and they can afford to help their install base increase and take the hit until these other places go out of business. And to me, that's what feels like Game Pass tries to do is like, hey, look, you want Halo Infinite? The campaign's available at launch for only $1, and people will sign up for the $1. They play Halo Infinite, and they may not ever do anything with Game Pass again or bother with it, or they just let it start doing the auto renew or something,
Hmm.
and they now have that person installed on Xbox doing nothing, not playing any games or not caring or burning games at $1 and being like, I don't know, I played the game and I'm done with it. I guess I didn't really care.
Sure.
Like, I don't think it's good for the health of the industry in the long run. I think it just allows them
100%
to
not.
like snipe longtime customers. Because like when you walk into a store right now, if you're a brand new person who doesn't know video games and you walk up to a counter and the guy at the counter is like, oh yeah, welcome to the GameStop. If you get an Xbox, you can get Game Pass fucking $1, and you can have all these games like right out the box, and then just let it keep renewing, and you got a bunch of games.
Right.
PlayStation, you don't do that. You buy your games, and then it's like the only way a person would be sold on a PlayStation is if they saw like how many quality games PlayStation has that are exclusive, but you will see that. It depends. I guess it depends on your interaction with the person. But like you walk the walls, dude. I walk the walls at retail stores for like Xbox and PlayStation, and like 90% of Xbox walls is third party, or like ports from the Xbox 360 and Xbox One up.
Hmm.
The PlayStation wall is constantly like you walk the PlayStation wall on PS4, PS5, even on the 4 section is incredible. Kingdom Hearts stuff like Kingdom Hearts 3, Persona, Final Fantasy 7 remake, and that's from last year, dude.
Yeah.
Like even right now, you walk the walls and it's like, well, I can get Elden Ring on either console, but I also can only get Horizon on one, or or the same thing with the Switch. Switch has that same thing going for it, where like you walk into a
Oh,
store and say
100%.
Xbox versus Switch, it's like, well, most of these games went to Switch. Maybe a couple of them didn't, but a lot of these games on Switch are not coming to Xbox anytime ever. And I think it's why you
Nintendo
find
has such a lock on exclusive titles that they actually make money on their consoles.
absolutely.
They don't have to take a
Hmm.
loss on their hardware.
I almost wonder if I kind of want to see some data. Maybe we'll bring some data back next week. I'll do some looking and digging around.
Go for it.
I feel like the majority of game players in America own some combination of like PlayStation Switch or like Switch PS5 or 4. Because it feels like you don't need an Xbox. Like if I really wanted to play something on my Xbox, I play it on Game Pass.
Right.
Or I mean, yeah,
The
it's
fact
all on
that
computer. Every single
anything that's
game.
major on them at what Xbox people say are exclusive titles are on Steam.
Yeah, they're on Steam or they're on Windows Store or whatever. They're
Right.
they're available on my computer at all times. So if
I
I
see it
own
on
my
Twitter all the
computer,
time where people are like, "Oh, look at this list of exclusives that Xbox has." And I'm like, I can go on Steam and buy that right now. That's not an
yeah,
exclusive.
absolutely. Well, that's the killer. People act like because it's not on PlayStation, it's exclusive, and that's
Right.
not how it works.
It's not how it
Like,
works.
Pokemon Arceus is only on my Switch. I can't play it on my computer. I can't play it on my phone. I can't play it on my PlayStation, my Xbox, whatever.
Right.
And I mean, shit, dude. The reason I was able to go grab Tunic was because I sold my Xbox One, my Slim Edition, because
Mhm.
the thing literally did nothing. We had actually unplugged it and then left it in the corner. And then I just was like, you know what? It's literally just sitting there. I better get rid of it while it's still worth something.
Is that the all
So I
digital?
went. No, it was the
Mm.
Minecraft Xbox One
Oh, okay.
Slim. Not the new gen, but the previous gen, the Slim. Um, and it was still worth like $150 in store credit, and I'm like, dude, this is my Tunic and my Witch Queen and some other stuff. And shush about that because I didn't actually buy Witch Queen yet, but I still have all the store credit. So I'm probably gonna. I mean, who are we kidding? I'm probably gonna. Regardless, everybody stop. Everybody calm down.
Oh man, ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen, something's coming off the list.
I bought a year. I bought a year of Nintendo Family because it ran out. I bought Tunic and I kept the other like $80. And I'm probably gonna grab Witch Queen when I get around to it. I was gonna do it in the store, and I was like, yeah, maybe I'll get Witch Queen. And Alicia glared at me and was like, we don't support them. And I was like, I know it sucks what they do, but like at the same time, it's fun, and it's not that bad. They're not as bad as other companies have been.
They've
And so
turned themselves
she made her
around.
look at me, and I was like, all right, all right. I was like, I'm still not happy about the current pricing schematic thing, but we'll see. I'll probably end up getting it anyway.
It speaks volumes because you are pretty much staunchly unmovable when it comes to morality and ethical things. And if Bungie has gotten you to turn around on Witch Queen, that's saying something.
It's mostly just I still disagree with their pricing. The fact that it went up $20 over
Yeah.
last year, and that it feels like they're doing more work to make it cost more and be less content each time. Like the dungeons got moved out, separated. But I think it's still reasonable to like just pick up pieces and bits. I don't like that I have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like even if I go to buy Witch Queen, I have to spend $50 because I have to buy Witch Queen and the season because
Right.
that I think that's the one thing that bugs me right now. If the season had been included with Witch Queen, I wouldn't care. The fact that those two are separated is weird for me and bugs me.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's
That's
like,
fair.
it's the season that launched the same day as Witch Queen. This stuff was already developed and ready to go. It'd be one thing if this was 3 months later and you guys were like, here's the next season. But you had this stuff ready to go at launch. This is the equivalent of Jill and Shumagarath in MVC3, where it's like, they're on disc, they're already ready. I could play this content the first day it came out. Why is it an extra $10?
Right.
So that bugs me. That bugs me still. But I guess we'll see. But that might not be a thing right now because FF14's patch is in like 2 weeks, not even a week and change. So
yeah.
Oh god, a week and 2 days. A week and 2 days. So maybe after I burn myself on that, end of April, March, or
That's
May
fair.
or whatever, I'll come back and swing around for Witch Queen or something.
That's cool.
But no, with this, I think that I want to see the data because I really feel like most people have a PlayStation or a computer to play like AAA titles that aren't Nintendo, and then a Switch to play like Nintendo titles.
Oh, that's me.
You don't need anything else. Like, I mean, you could argue that there are things that come to PS5 or 4 that aren't on Steam and vice versa, sure, but every single thing on my Xbox or on an Xbox is available on my computer. Literally, from Halo to Forza, Gears, any title you could imagine that's on Xbox is on Steam, and that's the whole point, right? Like, they made it PC crossplay.
But it's
PC
dangerous now because they're putting their exclusive titles on stuff like Steam, and you have now you have a product outside of the ecosystem that you want people in, and I just don't see that. I just see this like not doing well over time.
To this day, I told people when the new Xbox generation was coming, I was like, don't get me wrong, they can still compete. They should still be able to like make their games and stuff.
Right.
But I think the smart play for Xbox would be to pull a Sega and stop doing hardware and just move Game Pass onto PC entirely, focus on the Windows Store or on Steam or something, and become a big publisher, and that's it. They do not need to be doing hardware. And the fact that they chose to do hardware again seemed like a horrible idea to me.
Again, I mean, it really comes down to my theory that I've had since day one of like when the very first Xbox came out was that this was a giant social experiment to get console titles to come to PC. And it really bridged that gap. Yeah, and that's
And you
exactly
know
where they
what's
are.
funny? You know what's funny about that too? If you think about it, is that if imagine if Xbox like construct an alternate world where Xbox did not make the current hardware generation, and it was just PlayStation 5 and Switch, and then on computer you either had the Windows Store get revamped and contain all these AAA titles and become like a Steam contender,
Hmm.
or just everything went to Steam. In either of those cases, though, not having to do hardware, imagine how much better Xbox would be sitting right now if they didn't have to worry about the chip shortages and getting stock in people's hands and all that garbage and losing
Right.
money on the consoles. They would have not lost money on consoles. They wouldn't have to worry about all the garbage of like, wow, Sony can't get their consoles in their players' hands. That's a shame. We have computers all day. Like, they would have looked like they were winning that war in terms of
Sure.
like software or whatever. They would have seemed like optically they were in the better position, and they were smart enough to avoid the whole chip problem and shortage problem. And then they would just be sitting here. They'd be making what they're making now for money without having to deal with all the hardware crap. Because you can't tell me that's not causing problems for them. There's no way
Sure.
they're not making money in their hardware. You don't need the hardware to play most of the games. At this point, for most people, the Xbox is either a DVD machine or like a Netflix box or like a Game Pass machine because they don't have a computer. Anyone
Hmm.
with a computer is playing it on their computer already. So it's like
Yeah.
it feels like it was a missed opportunity, and I would hope they don't go through with it again. I can't wait to find out what the next Xbox is going to be. Well, we did.
There are rumors because they did announce another Xbox model. There are rumors that it's just going to be a streaming stick, very similar to Amazon,
So
but for like Game Pass titles.
so what do we do? We went Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox Series X. So what's the next one going to be like? The Xbox like Art Exposition Depot thing? What do we do like?
What did they say? Was it Xbox Series K or something like that? I forget.
Seriously, Series K?
Uh, Let me see here.
uh, it's going to be like the console formerly known as Xbox or something stupid.
I'm looking it up right now.
They're gonna make you're right. It's gonna be like a streaming device for like Azure or some sort of like cloud streaming service,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. And it's gonna plug in your TV, and they're gonna call it like the Xbox non-console and be like, it's not a console.
Nonsole.
Like you don't need the console. Like,
I think there is a very real future where TVs will be integrated with either like Sony's offerings digitally or Xbox's offerings digitally
sure.
streaming.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong, but I think Sony already has that for some stuff.
Yeah.
PlayStation wise, I think Downer. I think he has a PlayStation at home, and he could do something with Sony stuff. I forget.
You know what's gonna
I could be
happen?
completely wrong there though, but I do.
Sega's gonna win the console war.
Sega's gonna win.
We're gonna we're
Hell
gonna
yeah,
end up
dude.
we're gonna end up going. You're gonna do what you said. We're gonna transition to having TVs that are smart TVs to the point where they do console stuff as well, and you can just get games on your TV or whatever, assign in your account.
Hmm.
And then Sega's gonna be like, "Hey, do you guys not remember like Sega TV in the
Right.
'90s or
Yeah,
whatever?
yeah.
Like, look, where did you came
Fucking
crawling
told you.
back? Like,
Well, they had the first hybrid console, the Sega Nomad, where you could put your Sega games on your little Nomad. You could plug it into a TV and get it to play. It even had space for a second controller. It's wild.
there you go. Sega also had the first like open source console where you could just print your
Look at
games and
this
play
thing.
them.
It had the 6-button Sega controller built into it. It had a controller port on the bottom. Oh, that camera doesn't like that at all. It
Oh
has the
wow.
controller port on the bottom and then AV out. So you could literally take this thing on the go. It would play for 5 minutes because batteries, and then
Sure.
no, they had like battery packs, and you could plug it into. Oh, there's dust all over this thing. Shows you how much I play it. But yeah,
Right.
you could play this thing on the go, hook it up in your car jack. It had an expandable battery pack on it. You could literally, yeah, there's an AV out S video out cable right here. You can plug it right into your TV like it's a Sega console.
So what you're telling me is that was the
That was
original
the
Nintendo
original
Switch.
Nintendo Switch. Yep,
Yeah.
the first hybrid console.
Sega must be so mad right now.
Yeah, man. All right, let's move on. We also got news, and apparently I was the only one expecting this week. Breath of the Wild 2 was delayed until spring of 2023. They
Yeah.
did say, and I don't know why, people must have a short memory. Last year's E3, they said they were aiming for 2022,
Yeah.
and there was just no promises. So, um, they want this game to obviously be good. Nintendo is not afraid to delay a game so that it's gold. They don't publish stuff that's not. He
I just
finally
saw the picture.
Nice.
I love it.
Nintendo doesn't self-publish stuff that's not fucking gold. And even like at the end of the day, their worst game is not terrible. So, especially on the Switch. So
Right.
they're going to delay this to make sure that it's right. They have a lot of things riding on Breath of the Wild. Obviously, now that Breath of the Wild's not here, Elden Ring's probably going to be Game of the Year this year. But
well, I guess we'll see. I don't think it should be Game of the Year, but I guess we'll see what else comes out. I think I would rather give it to like Witch Queen before I gave it to Elden Ring. But
that is a bold statement.
well, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Has Witch Queen been the best expansion in Destiny's history ever?
Yes. I don't know if they can. The thing is with Destiny though, it's like one of those ongoing things. So it's an ongoing game.
Yeah, like it doesn't count as like a game release.
It's an expansion. It's not going to count. Yeah, it's never going to count.
Well, I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see what the final rankings look like. Because Triangle Strategy right now, I think, is the highest rated game for Metacritic outside of critics. Obviously, everyone gave Elden Ring a 10 and then played it afterward. And then they were like, "Oh wait, never mind."
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I could see Triangle Strategy and Elden Ring butting heads there. I would like to say Horizon has a chance. It's a phenomenal game.
Yeah,
I don't think it does.
I don't think Triangle Strategy will take it just because it seems like Nintendo doesn't seem to get that.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, this year is the year of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, if I'm not mistaken.
A lot of games. Well, this is
and
the
a
thing.
lot of people like Xenoblade.
This is the thing, too. Nintendo's releasing a shitload of titles this year. Either in-house
Kirby.
or with their partners. So we got Kirby, we have the Pokemon's coming out, the Xenogears.
Oh, yeah. Arceus is technically this year.
Yeah.
So it's going to be Scarlet Violet, yeah.
So we have, what else? Wii Sports is going to come out. That's going to do gangbusters. And keep in mind, Pokemon's going to have like that very close to Black Friday release in November. So they are at a point where they're almost competing with themselves, because they just have so much shit coming out. So even if Breath of the Wild wasn't ready, it's smart for them to delay this regardless.
Maybe what'll happen is Pokemon, what is it, Violet, Scarlet? Maybe Violet, Scarlet will come out, and after 1 week of playing it, it'll unanimously be Game of the Year, because that's what happened like with Halo, right?
Oh, God, dude.
Fans' choice of the
year. Players' choice. After 24 hours of release, fans have decided that this is the Game of the Year. Totally not a sponsored ad. Totally player's choice.
Well, I feel like there's a big release that I'm missing on PlayStation's part this year. Oh, we're still on the fence about whether or not God of War is this year, aren't we?
Probably.
Or did that get delayed out?
I don't really pay attention to those games too much. I should probably try those sometime.
I played older God of War games and they were fun, but they were like mindless fun, right? Like smash, 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 kill, kill, kill. Like the puzzles were interesting, but they were never like, if you played a puzzle game in your life, you can figure out a God of War puzzle in 5 seconds. If you've never played one in your life, I get why it's like complex, because it's like geometrical puzzles, right? Like moving things into places and being like, how am I gonna get over there? And there's like
pushing big cubes
a
around
broken bridge. It's literally like a broken bridge, and like the pillar is like over 3 feet, and Kratos is like, to find a way across that bridge, and then you're like, okay, and then you move the pillar like 3 feet, and it locks into place, and he's like, that'll do it, and you're like, okay, Kratos, you could have jumped that fucking gap. You've jumped like hundreds of feet off things and around things and shit, and you have your chain things. You could have just chained over and been like, whatever, I go over. But sure, I get it. You had to like make me think for 5 seconds, like, how do I move a thing over to a thing? That's like God of War's puzzles. I mean, they were better in, I will say, in the more recent God of War. It felt like a fresh take on God of War. They did a lot better job with the puzzles and the combat and everything. It feels like a whole new series. You could probably skip all the old God of War games and just start with the PS4 one and have a good time of it.
Fair enough.
And the design of that game is actually really smart, but that's a whole nother. I could go off about like fair. So the enemies in God of War 4, I guess if we're calling it, I don't know, the PS4 God of War, they won't attack from off screen usually. So like on a normal difficulty, they won't just hit you blind off screen, like off camera. They'll maneuver into the camera and then attack.
Oh.
So it keeps you from getting overrun by like, if there's 10 dudes on screen, you don't have to try and keep your eyes on all of them to figure out who's going to attack you. You can literally like fight the dudes that are in front of you, and the other dudes will try to get like around in front of you. So it's one of those things where like the game doesn't tell you this, so it makes you feel like you're a better player than you are because the game's being easier for you.
Interesting.
But those are always good mechanics because the players don't know about them, right? And end up feeling like they're a badass or they're doing really well because of it. So it's pretty smart. I think it's only on the normal difficulty. I think on the harder ones, they don't give a fuck and they just wreck you from like wherever.
Makes sense.
But it's smart, right? It's like smart design to make sure that the players aren't getting overrun by stuff that's not, it's not fair to get hit off screen, but it's realistic, right? So you draw that balance.
Right. Yep. So, yeah, we have, looks like we'll be looking forward to Breath of the Wild come spring. And keep in mind, I guess, we haven't gotten a lot of stuff that's bleed over titles in 2023 yet for Nintendo. We know we have a lot of stuff coming out in 2022. I would not be surprised to see some other stuff get delayed just because there's so goddamn much coming out, and it's almost like they're competing with themselves at this point. Advance Wars was another one that was kind of smart to delay, obviously because of the atmosphere of where we're at right now with things outside of the gaming sphere, but it's. Yeah, it was probably another smart delay, but I'd definitely like to see it come out eventually. I would say probably this time next year we'll probably see Advance Wars as well. So that's it. Let's move on.
Definitely.
We have Capcom raising its employees' base salaries. Capitalism said it couldn't be done, but here we are.
Get ready for $120 video games.
Right.
It'll only be those games from Capcom from Japan. They'll be $120. Everything else will be fine somehow.
Yeah. So it sounds like Capcom's really rolling in the cash piles right now. So my question is, Mega Man Battle Network Collection when? I think we're
yes, please.
Yeah, I think that would be they released the Advent and the ZX series on Switch.
Yeah, dude.
I
I'm
have
happy
it
about that.
and Mega Man Battle Network Collection when? Like, I just come on, man. It's just they always
I'm in the same boat with you.
Release it. I don't care.
I'm in the same position as you, except for Mega Man Legends.
And that game's done, isn't it? That game's like fucking almost done.
I'll still never get over how much of the game was like done, and then they were just like meh, and they just stopped production. They had a demo ready to go. I mean, I've showed you video of like a fully functional demo where the game's not just like the demo area, but like the game's core mechanics and systems were done, and they were like, never mind. Like, I don't get it.
Oh man, that's rough. Yeah, it's painful. So.
And like how it would like even just give us 1 and 2, dude. 1 and 2 could be a port that would take minimal effort,
no time,
and would sell gangbusters, dude.
Yeah, it's frustrating, man. I don't know. Maybe we'll see the Legends series come out on the PlayStation. Was it PlayStation 1? It was on as well. Mega Man Legends.
Yeah, PlayStation 1. Oh man, yeah, it could be in the dude. I'm gonna end up paying $120 a year for access to Mega Man Legends and Final Fantasy Tactics, aren't I?
Like you weren't already gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
So man. Yeah, that's it's cool to see Capcom raising its base salaries. I guess they said by 30%. That's pretty significant.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's good to see that. So hopefully that translates into more games, Mega Man games, Mega Man Battle Network Collection 1, and hopefully we'll see some stuff on the horizon. We'll never know. But Mega Man Collection, come on, Mega Man Battle Network. Where you at? So
I'd like to point out I just googled Mega Man Legends 3 just because I can, and Keiji Inafune said in 2014 that he still wants to make the game.
Very
now that may be 8 years ago. However,
didn't he leave?
He could still do it. He got from Capcom, made Mighty No. 9, and we all acted like that didn't happen.
We sure did. Did he go back to Capcom after that?
No, I don't think so. Okay. He made another game. Remember, he made that game on Xbox I told you about, where Xbox tried making a game by Retro Studios and Keiji Inafune.
Yeah.
Recore, and then they were like, yeah, you should buy it because Keiji Inafune, and people were like, is it good? And they were like, fuck if I know, and then it didn't sell well.
That was like almost a solo project, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
That was just him because he had left.
Mighty No. 9 was a Kickstarter project. Yeah,
that much I know. Yeah,
and I mean, I feel bad because if I remember correctly, the music guy for Mighty No. 9 is Takashi. Ooh, what's his name? Takashi Tsuchiya?
6ix9ine?
No, he's the guy who did Mega Man 2. He did all the soundtrack for Mega Man 2. Notorious developer, very good music.
Yeah.
He did the Mighty Number 9 soundtrack, and if I remember right, the music was really good, which is one of the reasons why everyone thought it was going to be good. And then having Keiji Inafune back, it seemed like, well, yeah, he made Mega Man, and it turns out he was not what made Mega Man good.
No.
And
well, they kept calling him like the grandfather of Mega Man, and he didn't come into the Mega Man series until X.
Way later.
He had nothing to do with the NES games. It was.
Which granted, X's were good too. I don't understand. That's what's weird, right?
Good.
X was good as well. So, like, how... I don't know.
At the end of the day, I think he was just more of a character designer and not really... maybe like lead designer, but he didn't do anything mechanically. Well, I'm sure he probably did
he came from an illustration background. He was an artist.
Yeah. So, like, when they say he's the grandfather of Mega Man, it's because he's responsible for the design of Mega Man X.
Yeah.
But not the NES stuff. It's great, but again, at the end of the day, he's not the one that's doing all the hard ass and back end programming to make these games mechanically fun.
There's a world of difference between being able to design great characters, even on paper, personality, illustration, whatever, and then making a gameplay loop that's like fun to engage with. They're totally different things. I mean, I'm sure everybody knows that, but I just like to throw that out there. And I feel bad because I think what happened with Keiji Inafune was like his Kickstarter for Mighty Number 9, if I remember correctly, was at a time where names were leaving companies and then going on to work on their own projects, and those projects were good. So, like, or at least the people who made those projects had proven that they could make good work. Like, that was around the same time, I believe, the guy, Hideo Kojima, left Konami and was going to do Death Stranding. And the guy from Castlevania got thrown out and was going to work on, what's that game franchise that he made?
Curse the
Moon or something.
Bloodstained. That's it.
Yeah. So he had left to go make Bloodstained and was doing that through Kickstarter. The other dude went to go make Death Stranding, and he was considered like the father of Metal Gear. And these people had good sway at their companies, so it was like, these big names left and go to do their own projects. Their own projects are doing pretty well, or they look like they're going to do pretty well. So this was another case of like a big name left the company and then said, I can make it on my own with my name alone, and then did, but then didn't.
Right.
And I feel bad because like it's just a timing thing. Like it's like, what's a good word for that? When a bunch of other people are doing that same exact thing, and he also caught on the bandwagon, and it didn't work out for him. Who else? There was another name that did that. He did that. The guy from Castlevania. Oh, what was that game? Shenmue 3 got kickstarted, remember?
Yes.
And was done through Kickstarter. So, like, you had a lot of Kickstarters that were, like, they had big names attached of, like, Shenmue 3 is getting kickstarted. The new Castlevania sequel, spiritual successor, is getting kickstarted. Keiji Inafune is kickstarting his game. Hideo Kojima is... I don't think he kickstarted, but he left to go make his own thing, and then Sony basically, like, funded it, right? Sony was like, yeah, we'll take care of that part. Which is why it was only on PlayStation. So it was a time where, like, it seemed like games were diverging and all these companies were losing their best talent, and those talent were going to make their own things. Keiji Inafune was just kind of a bunk example of that because his game didn't really end up working out very well. How did it even turn out anyway? I remember hearing there was a lot of hype for it, and then...
What, Shenmue 3?
No, Mighty Number 9. I know everybody pans it as a bad game.
Yeah, I played, I think, like the first level of it. I didn't think it was terrible,
Same.
but I guess I didn't get to a part where it really stuck out that it was bad.
Well, you know what it was? Is I played the first level and I noticed it was tedious. Very tedious for me. And a game like Mega Man, where I'm supposed to be having a good time just playing the game, it felt crazy, like, picky and tedious to play. Like, they wanted me to do certain things. I had to move certain ways. They were like, if you do a certain thing, this happens. I don't know. I mean, I played it years ago, so I couldn't tell you the specifics, but it definitely felt like it was very...
button combo presses to do weird specific things.
It was really weird.
I think the Mighty Gunvolt series was probably a closer successor to the Mega Man series than anything, and that was a pretty good solid series on the 3DS at least. I don't know if that's on other consoles or not, but...
Oh, God. I just for ha-has, I went to Metacritic and started glancing at the user scores, and it doesn't have anything higher than like a 4 anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, Death Stranding, let's face it, not exactly like knocking it out of the park with like game experience.
Yeah, Death Stranding, I like... It's weird, because like, I appreciate Kojima trying to use the game as an art form,
Sure.
but that doesn't make it a good game. That just makes it a cool art piece.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
100%.
yeah, it's cool. It's cool to be like, you have those. Sometimes you have those stories where like you take the game medium and you transform it, and you make people realize that it's not just video games. It's like an art form. But that doesn't mean that it's fun to do that. Like that journey isn't necessarily fun to go on. Like,
Right.
you know,
Especially when you're it's getting chalked up as a walking simulator. And I mean, if it's a
absolutely.
brilliant, beautiful world, there's a lot of people out there. I mean, look at Destiny. A lot of the background art and all the design work gets very taken for granted in that game, and it's incredible. And I'm sure Death Stranding probably suffers from that too, where they have a beautiful world that I have not playing it myself. I'm sure they have like an incredible world built around this character that's just not really doing anything. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know.
Well, because like, it's one of those like you talk about like the system in the game where like you balance the packages in your back so you don't fall over because you can literally overbalance in a bad like way and fall over and you do get like in trouble for falling over. It does make everything worse.
Hmm.
Like, and it's like, okay, does that sound like a cool mechanic? Like, as an art form, like the whole like that whole idea of doing that sounds awesome. Like you translated that from real life into a video game. Cool. Is it fun for me to sit there and have to do that? No, it's not going to be fun. I'm going to do it because I want to play the game, and you're telling me I have to do that to progress the game. Fine. That does not mean I'm going to enjoy it. Like,
Yeah,
you
you're
know,
not wrong.
and that happens. I mean, we how many times have you played a video game where you're like, oh, this part sucks, but I guess I'll like carry through it. Like,
Right.
especially if it's a game you've been playing for a little while, or a game that you are excited to play, like, or it has a big name attached that's supposed to be like wild. Like,
Right.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Not Blitzball though.
Oh my god, I
I love Blitzball.
we are not on the same side of Blitzball,
Yeah, it's really weird. It's such a good game. I think you should.
dude. You know what's funny? Like the one thing that stops me usually from replaying Final Fantasy X is knowing that I have to play a Blitzball game and being like, I'm gonna put it down when I get there.
All you have to do is get the jack shot when you're on the boat, and you are unfucking stoppable.
Yeah, see, that's like people say that, and then when I play the game, I usually end up only winning because of the last part with the jack shot, and I was getting smashed up until that. Or I was like struggling. I was struggling to not let them score any goals, and I wasn't scoring any goals myself. And it's like I hate every minute of it until Titus gets in there, and then they're like, "Go do the jack shot," and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna go do the jack shot," and then I go do the jack shot, and I get the 1 point, and then I'm like, "I swear to God, please don't let them score a point," and then like
Yes.
hopefully they don't score a point, and then that's like the game, and it's like it's like the most miserable part of
Okay.
like my Final Fantasy life.
I will say that part of Blitzball sucks because it's basically a coin toss if you're to figure out if you're
Yeah,
soft resetting that game.
yeah, yeah, absolutely,
But the
absolutely.
rest of Blitzball is just phenomenal.
See, I never interacted with it since then,
You
so maybe that's
shouldn't.
all the problem
So that's the
is.
problem, because
Yeah,
that part of the game, I will absolutely admit sucks, and it should be rectified. It should be a little bit more balanced or scripted so that you are guaranteed that shot. Because soft resetting that sucks, and I will
yeah. I just,
absolutely agree with you.
yeah. I feel like the game tries to introduce you to Blitzball and be like, "Hey, do Blitzball,"
And
but
it's
then
not
like
a great way to
it
do
doesn't
it.
give you any of like the customization you'd get later, where you can change their shots and change things and pick your team or recruit team members. Like, so all that's missing,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't even have Titus at the first half either. So it's like your best character is also missing, and it's like I don't know. It just feels like it hamstrings you too much to make. I wonder how many people never went back and tried Blitzball after that match, like I didn't. You know what I mean? And
Right.
therefore missed the entire Blitzball experience because like they had a bad one time with that tutorial kind of Blitzball game.
Yes. So,
Um,
audience, this is your homework tonight. Go experience Blitzball, and we will convene next week and talk about
oh,
it.
Jesus Christ. Um, alternatively, do anything else with your life, and we'll reconvene next week. No, no,
Oh man.
like, but I just wonder because like I feel like what was that game? Was it the game Haze? Did you ever play the game Haze or see the game Haze on? I think it was a PS3 game.
Well, it sounds familiar.
That game had that problem, but throughout the whole game, where the first part of the game, you're playing as a soldier who's got like these powers given to you by the Haze, whatever the drug that you take,
Okay.
and then so you play through the first part of the game as like a soldier working for this corporation, and you have this Haze, like you have access to it because you're part of the soldier, the corporation, whatever. And so you've got all these cool powers. And then halfway through the game, you switch sides when you realize the corporation is fucked and the resistance is in the right. You go to help the resistance, and you lose access to all the haze powers you had because you don't have access to the drug anymore.
That's kind
And
of rough.
it's like playing Metroid and starting with like all the suit and gear, and then losing it halfway through and never getting it back. Like, does that sound like a fun
Oh.
time, right? Like,
I'm looking at screenshots. See, here's the thing. I didn't get a PlayStation 3 until it was like already at the end of its life. Um, I'm looking at this game and it
yeah,
looks fucking phenomenal for a PlayStation 3 game.
right. It was graphically it was well done,
It's very
and
like Crisis-y.
yeah, the story is really cool. It's a really cool. And how many games do you get to like start off as a bad guy and flip to being a good guy because the good guys, you realize like partway through, all
Uh-huh.
that shit is awesome and it's fantastic. But the fact that they start you with powers, a bunch of powers, and then they strip them all halfway through the game because you're no longer using the drug,
Hmm.
like as a gameplay experience, absolutely miserable.
Yeah, so
You
you
know?
never even got a chance to like earn the powers back.
No, you don't know. You just don't have access to them anymore. It's
Huh.
not even like you take the haze from the dead soldiers and you can use it when you kill enemies or anything. It's like no, you just don't get it. So it's like playing Metroid, and at the start of the game you have all your shit, your gravity ball, your different missiles, your beams, and everything, and then like halfway through your suit breaks, and then you just never get them back. It's like okay, cool. I like being powered down in the
Wow.
middle of my gameplay experience and then never getting it back. Oh, such a weird decision.
That's terrible.
Narratively, I understand, but it does not make for enjoyable game. And that's what I mean with stuff like Death Stranding. You can make it like narratively, that's a 10 out of 10. The fact that you get to like work for the evil corporation and then realize what you're doing to people and make that moral choice to turn
Hmm.
is awesome. It is not a good gameplay experience.
That's a shame. It
And I
looks like
wonder
it's
if
a really
Blitzball
good
has that
game.
problem. I wonder if
Um,
Blitzball does not hook you in the first game. It's reverse, right? It doesn't make me want to play it anymore. Whereas this is like getting to the middle makes me not want to play it anymore because then it's like it sucks
yeah,
after that. It's the reverse, I guess.
possibly. I would say play Blitzball.
Oh my god.
All right, well, it's time to talk about my favorite story of the week. We're going to talk about NFTs, kids. Um,
Oh my god.
Axie Infinity's Ronin network suffers a $625 million exploit. To the shock of no one, NFTs are into the news again for the usual reason, yet more people were scammed out of more than $500 million in a digital exploit, leading to people questioning why this was allowed to happen in the first place.
Yup.
So, I got into a little
Again.
skirmish with an NFT bro a couple weeks
Oh
ago,
yeah.
and his fine example of peak NFT gaming experiences was Axie Infinity, a or a Pokemon clone that looked like something off of fucking Newgrounds. Um,
Yeah, it looks like a flash game for sure.
and oh boy, did I send this back to him and not get a response? And I just called him
Of
a fucking
course.
clown because he's a fucking clown. I think that's
I just
fair.
I My favorite part of the example was when he was like, "Oh, there's even NFT esports," and you were like, "What NFT esports?" And he was like, "Axie Infinity," and then you were like,
I
"What
said,
makes them an esport?" And he's like, "They call themselves an esport.
yeah, I
They
said,
offer
what?
up their own money incentive," and it's
Yeah,
like
what esports league are they affiliated with? Oh, they made their own.
they made their own. It's like okay. I bought a pro gamer shirt at Walmart, and I made my own esports league for like the Phoenix Aurora games.
Yeah, man. Hey,
And
I'm in the esports league now too. It's fun to
it's
pretend.
super exclusive. There's only one person competing, and it's me
Right.
beating
I'm a
Tunic in
fucking
30
champion every
hours.
year.
Yeah, but you
Oh
better
my
believe the
god.
payouts I give myself are huge, and
Right.
therefore it's a big deal.
Yeah, so every day's a new
Fucking
journey with
wild.
NFTs. So it's just goddamn, man, I love it. So I guess let's break this down. Big game. No red flags here. 40% of the player base out of Indonesia. The next largest player base is out of some South American country, making up another 10% of the player
Like the
base.
Philippines or something, yeah.
Yeah. So
Not known at all for bots, and
yeah,
especially when there's a financial incentive. They've never had World of Warcraft
no,
bots where they
no.
had billions of players who were just like farming gold as bots. Like
Right.
that's not you're acting like it's a country where there's actual warehouses where people that have full-time jobs to sit at computers and farm gold in World of Warcraft to then sell it. Like that's not a thing. Could you imagine?
Right.
Wild.
I could tell you what it
Anyway,
was. It was probably like very impoverished people in a warehouse with people walking up and down aisles with shotguns so they could sit there and farm this game and pull money out of it. And this guy's making this game's pulling people out of poverty. The fuck it is.
dude, you
This
could
game is
act. Yeah,
exploiting
yeah.
people.
oh my god, he was like, it's pulling people out. He's like, they make more doing this than they can make at a retail job. And it's like, okay, you can make more scamming people than at a retail job. Doesn't mean
Right.
that it's morally or ethically good to do that scam.
Yeah. So
Oh my god.
this exploit was done with a back door, obviously leading to questions like, why did that back door exist? So again, this looks really sketchy, and I'm not going to say that it was an inside job, but I personally think it was an inside job. And it's just yet another NFT rug pull, and once again, people who are invested in this stuff are losing thousands of dollars. I even said to that guy last week, I was like, I was like, I genuinely hope you do not have thousands of dollars invested in this because you have a family. And his response was, I do. What's your problem? And then what did I say? Something like, you're literally gambling in a grift. And he said, and like,
Yeah, he was like, so. He was like, so? And you're like, go read that again. And he was like,
yeah,
well.
yeah, scary shit. So
He wouldn't even respond to it. He was like, nope, I'm just gonna keep talking.
well, that's the thing. He's like, oh yeah, you'll be able to bring your all your assets into other games. And I was like, okay, how many games can I bring my Axie Infinity assets into then? Can I bring them over to Pokemon? Can I bring them over to Halo? Can I bring them over to Destiny? Can I get a stupid pink fucking sheep in Doom? And I was like, name how many assets in this game I can pull out of this game right now as an NFT.
Oh
And he
yeah.
couldn't answer it. I said, waiting for that asset count, and he's like, keep waiting. And I'm like, again, you're running into the point and not realizing it. So
Yeah, you literally like, yeah, exactly. And
yeah,
my favorite was like when you were talking about like, um, what was it? You were mentioning how, oh yeah, you were like, oh, what do I do when like this game goes like belly up or whatever? And he's like, well, you'd still have the assets. And you're like, but what does that mean if the
right,
game goes belly up and the assets were made for that game? What do I do with them? And he's like, you never know if some other company might come along and decide to support your assets. And it was
yeah.
like, why would they do
On good
that?
faith, this company's just going to produce free stuff because that's how companies turn money.
Well, because
Not to
like
say that I
even
agree
if a
with
company,
capitalism whatsoever, but that's how capitalism works.
right? Well, even if another company did decide to start supporting, like, because say there was a lot of people who had assets for that game and the game went belly up, and then another company stepped in and said, we'll support those assets with our game because there's a market now, a bunch of people have the assets. You're never going to get as big as the original game was in the first place, which means you're never going to see the return on investment you would have from the original game, which means it's a loss even if another company does decide to pick up your assets and do something with it. Oh, it's insane.
Batshit crazy.
Yeah, but
Imagine
I'll
walking
throw a
into a
link in the
store
chat.
with a receipt and walking into like a hot topic for like with a Walmart receipt or some company that's going out of business saying, hey, I bought this t-shirt from this company years ago. What are you going to do for me with this receipt? And Hot
Do
Topic's
for
like,
me.
yeah, Hot Topic's gonna be like, I'm going to call the fucking security. That's what I'm going to do. Um,
Incredible.
like, like, what do you think? Like, how do you think this stuff appears? Like, it's someone has to make it. Someone has to take time to produce it. They're getting paid to do it. No one's going to throw this shit. Maybe a company right down the road will throw out a free generic shitty looking item like they do with pre-order releases.
Right.
Like pre-release or pre-order cosmetics always feel bad.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah, dude, absolutely, absolutely.
um,
Here, I'm gonna throw a thing in the chat. It's a link to a New York Times article about a basically the whole Chinese WoW gold farming market. And this dude that they talk about in the article, the first guy they interview, was working in like a major thing in China where they all work together to farm gold and they all give it to the supervisor. Supervisor sells it to a retailer. Retailer sells it to people in America or whatever. And at the end of the day, the dude was getting paid like 30 cents an hour to do this.
yeah,
And this was for World of Warcraft at a company whose entire job was to pay people to farm gold in World of Warcraft. So you can't tell me that's raising people out of poverty. And this dude was doing it for the biggest game on the planet at the time for, in 2007, back when World of Warcraft was in the absolute heyday. I can't imagine that Axie Infinity with its $0.6 billion exploits is lifting anyone out of poverty.
100% not. Whew, that's what we call a pump and dump in crypto. It's just
I agree with what you said. I think it was because you were saying like it's quite possible that the exploit was intentional, and this was their excuse to be like, we don't know what happened with it. And I wouldn't be surprised because you can't just rug pull a project that's getting too big. And so when you're hitting $0.6 billion, I imagine the best way to rug pull is to just act like it was someone else and be like, we don't know what
Sure.
happened.
And what's the first thing they do every time this happens with decentralized currency? They run
Yeah.
to a centralized agency to bail them out.
We have the federal government investigating. Really? Wow, that's weird. It's kind of like
What are
goes
they going to
against your
do?
whole idea, doesn't it?
What are they going to do?
I love like we went to the federal government for help, and it's like, well, okay, the thing that you want not to be there, the
The thing you're trying
deregulation.
to circumvent with your make believe money.
Oh my god.
Okay.
We're gonna live off the grid and we're gonna do it our own way. And then like the first day, like the winter storms come, they're like, so hey, power grid, can we connect to the power grid because we
Yeah,
need
yeah.
power?
Government, I'm
Oh,
cold.
weird.
Government, I'm
Yeah,
cold.
government pull. Yeah. Oh boy.
I don't want to pay school taxes. Why is everyone stupid when I go into a store?
I don't need anyone's help. I'll do everything by myself. And then they call the fire department when like their house burns down. And the fire
Right.
department's like, yeah, we'll be right over. And they're like, oh, thank God. They're like, okay, wow, weird.
Yeah. God damn. Yeah, so that's
I
our
love it.
weekly NFT rug pull story. I can't legally say that it was an inside job, but I will hold a personal belief that I think it's an inside job.
Yeah. Uh, it was absolutely a rug pull, allegedly.
Yes, exactly. Um, our last headline of the night, E3 is canceled for 2022 in its entirety. No digital, no in person. It's a shame, but again, it just raises questions um, for the need for E3. And I think there's a lot of arguments as we say one way or another. I think E3 is important. I think it's important specifically because of like networking, in-person networking, especially with indie developers. This is their chance to really connect with larger publishers.
Sure.
And when you take that out of it, it hurts the industry. Even if you just have like an all digital thing, again, I mean, it's something that indie developers can kind of piggyback off of, but they're not able to really intermingle with larger publishers. So
Yeah.
it's a shame to see, and I think a lot of it really comes down to mismanagement. I don't think it's a COVID thing at this point. I don't think it's anything else but mismanagement. You're looking at IGN; they're still going to be doing their Summer of Gaming, and was it Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest? That's all going on still.
Yeah.
So at least we have that to look forward to for like game trailers. Because IGN loves their game trailers. Oh boy. So
Yeah.
it's good to see that we'll at least have something to see. I don't see this thing with like Starfield. My whole thing with Starfield was like, or not, was it Starfield? Star Citizen, Starfield.
Starfield.
Um,
Yeah.
my whole thing was like, if we don't see actual game footage of this game by E3, we're in some serious trouble. So now I'd say if we don't see game footage of this, maybe like where E3 was supposed to be, or maybe during Summer of Gaming,
Yeah.
we'll probably. It's just not going to be good for that game. I don't know. We'll see, but that's where we are with that. But yeah, it's a shame. Hopefully we see E3 come back next year, but I don't know. I don't know what capacity it will be back in. But I would like to see something still physical. That would be nice. So
I do wonder if E3 just. I don't want to say. Okay, what's a weird way to put this? I don't want to phrase it as that E3 got too big for its own good, but I wonder if E3 unintentionally forced people out in terms of like Nintendo going to do their own Treehouse thing, Sony started doing their own Sony showcase.
sure.
I think if I remember right, the last E3 event that fired was like Microsoft,
Yeah,
basically, right?
Microsoft
Like,
had basically a monopoly
obviously,
on
publishers and stuff.
announcing games because
Like,
PlayStation wasn't there.
yeah, I just mean of the big three in particular, because obviously I think we still had like Bethesda had a talk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Devolver probably had one. All these other ones have had publishers all had little bits and pieces.
Right.
But like, it feels like the big hitters like Nintendo and Sony both skipped E3 like at least a year or two running at one point.
Right.
And I don't want to. I guess see like saying that they got too big for themselves isn't, and maybe not what I'm trying to say. I wonder if they tried to swing their weight around with like Sony and Nintendo,
I think
and
maybe they're
Nintendo and
just
Sony
asking for
both
too
were
much
like, we don't
money.
need to do that. Yeah, yeah. Like I wonder if they were trying to like be like, we're E3 and you're just Nintendo and Sony, and Nintendo and Sony were like, okay, have fun.
Yeah, this isn't
And
2002 anymore. Like,
and I think that speaks like what you said to mismanagement, where like they thought
mm-hmm.
they could be like, we are the brand, and then it was like, no, the brands are. We don't tune into E3 because of those. I mean, if Summer Games Jam becomes the or Summer Game Fest becomes the new E3, nobody's going to care that E3 dies. We're all going to move to that. If that
Sure.
becomes as big as E3 and has meet and greets and has indie developers come out and you can buy tickets to a convention and everything, no one would care if it was called E3 or Summer Game Fest or whatever anymore.
Right.
But it's those names that draw us. It's the publishers, it's the developers, it's the game titles. So like, I wonder if E3 got too big for itself, being like, we are E3. Don't you know? Like the don't you know who we are kind of meme.
Right. They
And
thought they were more of an institution than they actually are.
right, and I think that might have been what caused that initial collapse for
That's
Nintendo to leave and then
fair.
Sony to leave. Well, because it wasn't even like it was slow, right? It wasn't just in 1 year like they were nothing. It was like 1 year Nintendo didn't go.
Mm-hmm.
And then next year Nintendo still didn't go, but then the next year Sony didn't go. And then like the next year it was like canceled or whatever. Like it almost feels like you said, even without COVID being a factor, I think things were going to start popping up to compete with E3, and E3 would maybe start losing some of the bigger names like Sony and Nintendo. And I think this would have happened either way. I think you would have seen them shrink down, and maybe now this is recovery mode, right? They cancel this year and say by next year, hopefully we can get everybody to come back or figure it out or something. I guess we'll have to wait and see what their next actual live event looks like, because if their next event is just going to be a Diablo style, don't you people have phones? Like, don't you know who we are? We're E3 kind of thing.
Right.
Then,
yeah, I think
I don't know.
if they did get too big, like some distillation is in order, and I mean we're seeing it not in a good way, because when you have like an entire company like Nintendo and PlayStation both leave, not a good look.
Right. No, especially something like this, because like of all times, like everybody waits for E3 every year. I mean, think about it. E3 is like what the cycle goes around, right?
Yeah,
like
E3 is like
things
gaming
get announced at
Christmas.
E3. Yeah, it's gaming Christmas, literally, dude. Especially, let me tell you, working at GameStop, E3 is wild because as soon as E3 happens, GameStop gets a rush of people coming in to pre-order all the games that got announced. Like a fuck ton of people come through.
Right. And if anything, GameStop needs right now is something to promote people to get in their fucking doors.
Absolutely. But holy shit, though, is E3. E3 is a big deal, but it's not that E3 is the big deal. It's just that everyone makes their announcements there. If E3 died overnight and all the games companies started making announcements in March, like, it wouldn't matter. No one would miss E3 if all the things that were happening at E3 happened at a different time or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, E3 has to remember that they're not relevant. They just happen to be the people who have the keys to the kingdom.
Right.
But they don't actually do any of the stuff that we care about. They just provide us that. It's like
media.
GameSpot or IGN. Like if GameSpot and IGN goes under right now, and something else takes their place and starts reporting game news, no one cares.
Sure.
No one misses GameSpot specifically for GameSpot or Kotaku or IGN. Like
right.
Maybe some people would miss some development. Like I would miss, in particular, like if Jason Schreier stopped doing exposés or Paul Tassi stopped doing articles about games, I'd miss those people individually. But I guarantee by this time next year, I'd have found another Paul Tassi or another Jason Schreier who was doing that work, because someone will do that work. You know what I mean?
The industry itself is the institution. E3 is not.
Right, exactly.
When you have things like YouTube, it makes it very attractive for companies to say, well, why are we just doing this? Why are we paying millions of dollars to do what we could do on YouTube by ourselves?
Right, and that's the thing. People will come because it's PlayStation, not because it's E3. They'll come see what PlayStation's putting out, not because like...
And correct me if I'm wrong, but it was either Devolver Digital or Limited Run Games or both that just... They weren't part of E3. They just happened to put all their stuff out during
the same time.
That time.
Yeah. Devolver did. Yeah.
As long as there's like an E3 placeholder, game companies can participate and publish on YouTube Live. And not have to pay any royalties or any kind of access fees to E3.
Yeah, as long as everyone knows it's about that time frame or whatever. If it's all at the same time. And that's the thing. I think isn't that what happened last year or the year before? I think it was last year. There wasn't really an E3. There was the game summer thing, but even that was I think that was just Jeff Keighley telling everyone to do it at the same time, and everybody kind of listened to him. Because it was we watched Devolver do their own thing. We watched Limited Run Games do their own thing. We watched Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo all have their own bits. Square Enix have their own bit.
Yeah, I mean, Xbox even had their own thing right after E3, after they had basically their lion's share of all the game announcements because no one else was there to announce them.
Right, yeah. They pretty much, all those developers and publishers all pretty much made their announcements at the same time, but nobody needed a giant overarching force to be this is what we're doing. Everybody just, we knew some of the bigger names were doing it, this week, and then all the small names were we're also doing it this week, and then everyone was doing it that week, and then we were all right, this is the week that everyone's announcing their games, and it didn't even matter what it was called or when it was specifically. It was just, it was the thing. We're all doing the thing right now.
Right.
I mean, even Borderlands did their thing where they talked about their movie for 20 minutes for no reason, and we were like, all right, I guess like that was them. Gearbox was like, yeah, Tiny Tina's getting a game, and here's 20 minutes of us filming the movie, and we were like, okay, I guess.
Yep.
What company was it that picked up a slot and they just talked for 30 minutes about like they did like a TED talk, they did like a diversity talk, and people were like, okay, what company was that? It was a bigger name, but like was it Ubisoft
It
or
was
somebody like that?
Ubisoft. I'm
They
pretty
were like,
sure.
welcome to our walking. They're like, our characters are going to walk for 10 minutes, and then we're going to talk about diversity for 20 minutes. And it was like,
Yeah,
I
weird
mean,
take.
this
Like,
this could have been a GDC talk in a
was a
a month
GDC talk, and
earlier.
that's what everyone said. It's like, what the
Yeah, it
fuck
would
is
have
this
been
doing
fine.
here?
Yeah.
It's
The
like
GDC crowd and the like E3 crowd are absolutely different crowds.
explicitly different crowds, right? Unless you're in, I would say, like a developer circle or something.
Right.
That Venn diagram is probably pretty slim.
Well, dude, and you know what's funny? You can tell because before I was into game development, GDC would come and go, and I wouldn't hear a word about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, they
Um,
pay well a lot of their content anyway.
they do, unfortunately.
So
But like, it wasn't until I started following developers who were talking about GDC that GDC became a thing I even paid interest to.
mhm,
And then it was awesome because for me, like, I love seeing the stuff like that Kirby thing where they talked about the way they did the Kirby mechanics, or the way
100%.
they talked about games like Tunic or games like Ghostwire Tokyo having these mechanics that circumvent the RPG problem of holding onto items for too long. That stuff's crazy interesting to me, but I know for every one of me and you, there's like dozens of people who are like, I don't give a fuck. I want to play video games. Is video games happening?
100%.
Like, I don't
Exactly.
care how it works. I just want to play video games. Like,
Exactly. I can tell you, everyone at E3 does not give a shit about Ubisoft's HR policies.
yeah, absolutely.
It is what it
These are,
is.
these are the people where Activision removed their name from the new Call of Duty game, and people were like, "Yeah, see, it's fine. I can buy this," because
Right.
they were like, they know that Activision was in a weird place, but then Activision removed the name from their game, and they're like, "Yeah, see, it doesn't even say it on here." Like,
Yeah. Keep funding
oh
us.
man, that crowd, the
Right. Exactly.
I'm here to buy Madden 23, and here's my Madden 22. It's only worth $1. Why is it only worth $1? I bought it for $60 like a year ago. Okay, I'll
Yep.
take the new Madden anyway. Like,
Yep. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh boy.
Like, sir, I don't have to give you $1 for this coaster.
Dude, oh my god, if I had $1 for every time, actually, if I had $1 for every time I took a Madden game that wasn't
You
going to
can
sell,
buy
I'd
all
have
the
more money
Madden
than the
games.
Madden games so it would cost. Yeah. Holy shit, though, people would literally come in and be like, what do you mean my Madden's only $1 or $2? Like, that's ridiculous. And I'm like,
How do you not know?
I agree with you. You should keep this game because I don't have room on my back shelf for copy number 130 of Madden 12.
Right.
So
Supply
I also
and
don't
demand,
want to
my
take
friend.
this. Like, I don't want to take this either, dude. And they're like, no, I'll put it in. And I'm like,
Sell it on eBay. You'll get probably 10 times more than that $1, which is probably a fair trade price.
I just love people will like, I can't believe I'm doing this, but then they'll do it, and I'm like, I don't want to do it either, dude. I have to run your ID. I have to get a signature. I don't want to do it either. Just keep your game. And they're like, I'll put it in. I'll put the $2 in, and I'm like, and they're like, but I'm gonna complain about it the whole time. And you're like, oh my god,
I
no,
bet you
neither of us
will.
want to do this trade. Just
Right.
take your game. I'll sell you the Madden game for 63 instead of 61. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Like just
Right. Like this Madden game you're giving me will not sell today. This Madden game you want is going to sell today.
it'll sell today no matter what.
Right. Your existence in my store does not benefit this transaction whatsoever. Like,
And then it's okay because because then I'll have to see that guy in a year when he brings me that game back and says like, oh, it was $60 when I bought it. Like, I know that was a year ago.
Yeah, we had that
It's a
conversation last
yearly
year, my guy.
release. Yeah, it's a
I
yearly
just,
release.
how are people new? Like, I'd hate to be like that person that has to break that to someone the first time, but there's got to be a point where it's like, you know, you're not getting a lot for this at GameStop. Like, how do people not know that yet?
People walk in the door with like Link's crossbow training, and and they're like, I'll give you literally, if you trade this in, it's 2 cents, and they're like, that's a fucking joke, and I'm like, it is a joke. You trying to trade me Link's crossbow training
Right.
for any amount of money is a joke. The fact that GameStop gives you 2 cents is weird and also a joke,
Right.
and no one should have to do either of these.
Right.
And they're like,
GameStop's doing it
it's
to be
fine.
ironic.
I guess I'll give it to you. And I'm like, no, it's literally, you can go outside and find a nickel on the ground and make double your money over selling me this game. Just keep it.
Right.
Like, give it to a friend. Give it to another person who has a Wii who doesn't own this game or something.
Donate it to Goodwill or something.
Put it in a tag sale as a free with purchase or something. I don't know.
Dude, I got Link's crossbow training behind me in a paper envelope somewhere. The paper envelope that it came in. Behind me somewhere. It's in there somewhere.
Dude, the price of that paper envelope for GameStop was probably the same price as Link's crossbow training at this point.
Probably.
It's insane. But no, because like, and I would literally, people would be like, wow, really? But it's got Link in the game and it's like a Zelda game. And I would like slide open the drawer and be like, this one drawer, 3 wide by like fucking 50 back, is 150 copies of Link's crossbow training. And they're like 50 cents a piece. I never in my life is this drawer going to be empty unless I throw it out. And they're like, well, all right, I guess this still seems like a bad deal on my part. I'm like, it's a bad deal on everyone's part.
It is a bad deal.
Like,
you don't have to do it. It's
yeah, exactly.
voluntary.
Don't do it.
Sell it on eBay. Yeah. Throw it out at a yard sale. Give it to Goodwill.
If you let me buy this game, you let me buy your Link's crossbow training for 2 cents, we're both dumb.
Like, dude,
don't do it.
I will give you 4 cents to get the fuck out of the store.
Yeah, I have a quarter left over from going to Panera Bread, and I'll give you this quarter to go away.
You should have a tip jar there, and that tip jar just funds to pay people to get the fuck out of the store with their Link's crossbow training.
We should have had like a little. We had these little cardboard things. You could fit like maybe 1/6 of a drawer, like 1/3 section, and like half of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to have like PS2 games in it, or like DS games. If you ever go to GameStop, you'll see DS games in those little paper things.
Yep.
And they're in one of those, right? We should have had one of those with just Link's crossbow training, and it was like. Take a penny, give a penny, but it was like give a Link's crossbow training, take a Link's crossbow training. People could just fucking take one and leave them as they felt like
so,
or whatever.
You see this tip jar here? I will let you take a fistful of whatever you can handle to just get out of my fucking store, man.
We should have a shovelware jar that's like give a shovel, take a shovel, leave a shovel. And it's fucking random Wii games and DS games, like.
Oh my god. Well, E3 being canceled is our last story of the night, so we just have a couple other things to do until we wrap up the show. I found another cool thing. This is a cool thing. This is a custom job. This doesn't exist. This is a handmade package and everything. It is a NES Zapper Megatron. So it's the actual Transformer. It's just dressed up to look like the NES Zapper. I think that's pretty fucking cool. But
that's cool.
Don't go on eBay thinking you're going to find one. It's a custom job. I don't know who made it, but if anyone out there wants credit for it, please let me know. Oh, there is like a little thing on the side there. I can't read it. But yeah, if you want credit for that, please let me know. If you want to come on the show and talk about it, I'd love to talk to you. So that's my cool thing of the week.
That is cool. Is that like the actual toy mocked up to look like that, or is that like?
I think it's the actual toy, and they just did like the custom packaging. I've done custom packaging like this before. It's not hard if you know graphic design. It's not hard to slap that together. But the actual Megatron gun is like I think it's like custom painted to look like obviously it's to look like the NES Zapper, but I'm pretty sure it's all like hand painted and all custom.
Yeah, I just realized I like how like what is that, Megatron?
Mm-hmm.
It looks like he's like a comic book shot of Megatron, or like a fairly well detailed shot of Megatron. And then in the background, the fireball is like the Mario NES pixelated fireball.
Yeah, it's
it's like okay.
I think it's the pixelated gunshot from Duck Hunt.
Oh yeah, probably that's what it is.
When you pop a duck.
Okay, that's more fair. I for some reason it's really funny to see them like have like high quality Megatron scans from like a comic book, and then they're like, oh, by the way, here's some red and orange squares.
Oh, it's all there. It's all meticulously there for a reason.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about it at first. I was just like, yeah, cool, and then I was like, why is it so pixelated? And then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it's the Zapper. It's supposed to look like that. That's funny.
I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, again, if you want credit for that, let me know. Let's talk about it.
Oh, yeah, it's legit. Yeah, absolutely.
So, upcoming game releases. We have a nice, juicy week of game releases coming up this week again. Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. That is going to be 9 Lego games in one.
Yep.
That is wild. And that's going to have, I think, a bunch of different characters available day one, like shit tons. So that'll be pretty cool. I think you can get I'm out of the loop on Star Wars shows now. The Mandalorian, I think that'll be like a DLC character or something like that.
Probably. I would say like the Lego games, like that one in particular is like Lego games are always good value, whether or not it's not my cup of tea personally. Like I
Sure.
don't. If I had more time, like to play games, and if my list was empty, sure, it's absolutely,
Right.
they're fun. They're
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 fun.
somewhat challenging. They're puzzles. Um, and there's no questioning that Lego games give you some of the best value, like bang for your buck, out of like
100%.
everything. You're what? Alicia's home and she's making a face at me because she's got a wait. No, my background's cut. You can't even see you. She's got her collar up around her head, so you can't see her. But you can't see her anyway
Nope.
because there she
It's
is.
green screen. You can see
But yeah,
you can see her shirt.
yeah, it's like Mega Man 2 stage back here. Um, no, so what was I gonna say? Like, there's no question that it's a good value proposition. You get gotta be hundreds of hours of entertainment with these
Right.
Lego games if you actually sit there and do
It's
everything.
hundreds of hours. 9 games. I'm sure they're going to be adding a lot of other extra content and spread throughout those games. Obviously, they're
Yeah.
going to be remasters. Um, so yeah, that's a definitely. I'll definitely be picking that on the Switch. That'll absolutely be in my Switch library this week. So that is coming out on like everything: PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. We also have MLB The Show 22. That's PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch. That is also coming out April 5th. We have Chinatown Detective Agency coming out Xbox One, Switch, and PC April 7th. And we have Chrono Cross, The Radical Dreamers Edition, coming out on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, PC April 7th. I ordered a physical copy of that. That is up on Play Asia for anyone who wants to get that and needs to have that in their physical collection. It's on Play Asia. Get it before it's gone. So I'll be waiting in the mail for that. We have Godfall Ultimate Edition. More than just the end game. PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, not PS1, PC, and that's coming out April 7th as well. We have Sherlock Holmes, The Devil's Daughter, that's coming out on the Switch April 7th. Slipstream, that comes out on the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch April 7th. And House of the Dead remake coming to Switch April 7th as well. So that's a pretty meaty week. I wouldn't say nothing crazy good, but it's a lot of I would say good meat and potatoes there, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Something for everyone.
What is something? Something's coming to Switch, and I can't remember what it is now. But it's like a AAA or a third-party title that's getting a Switch release, and everybody was surprised by it. But now I can't remember what it was.
Oh, the Harry Potter game.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, that's getting
A Switch
a
release.
Switch release, and
I was
everyone
like,
was
wait
like,
a
"Are
second.
you sure?" And everyone was like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we're sure."
I
So
I wonder. I think that's going to be a cloud game,
yeah, we'll
and I
see.
think they're not going to tell us until it's like close to
Yeah,
launch.
three days before launch. Oh, by the way, your pre-order is just a digital code.
Well, think about it. Look at that. Like, I don't want to be that dude, but like, look at that game, and then look at Kingdom Hearts like 1 and 2.5, and tell me that the Switch needed to cloud game those. It's going to cloud game this.
Yeah.
Oh
They
boy,
did Witcher 3. They got the Witcher 3 on there, so
they got Doom on there
it
too.
didn't look the best, but it was
They,
playable.
they got Doom on there, and if I remember correctly, like when they put Doom on there, like a lot of things were just gone. Like a lot of the background assets were like missing to make it happen or whatever. It was
It was just a
wild.
red gradient for the sky.
Yeah, a lot of
Oh
it was rough. I
no.
hear.
That's a shame. So that's what we have coming up this week. If you
Huh.
are guys are gonna get anything, let me know in the comments below if you're on YouTube. And what do we have in gaming history this week? Another week to make you feel old, that is for sure. So
Oh my
5 years ago, Persona 5 came out on the PlayStation 4.
Wow.
Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii came out 10 years ago. Super Paper Mario on the Wii, my favorite Paper Mario, 15 years ago. Metroid Zero Mission on the Game Boy Advance, 18 years old. So
No, I don't like that one.
Zero Mission is old enough to vote. Oh, how does that make you feel? Because I know that's one of your favorite games.
Well, no, I actually never got to play Zero Mission. It's really weird.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, for some reason I never played that one. I don't really know why.
It wasn't
Because
Fusion.
basically the remake of one.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I heard they made a lot of good changes to it, but I never got to play it actually. I don't know why I never played it. I had a Game Boy Advance, obviously. I just
Mhm.
somehow never crossed paths with it.
Hmm. What else do we
I don't
have
know.
here? Doom 64 came out
Yeesh.
25 years ago. Um,
Huh.
I'll let you guys at home figure out what system that was on. And
Yeah.
the big one here, Pac-Man for the Atari 2600 came out 40 years ago. And I do apologize for anyone that had to experience that game thinking it was going to be an arcade similar game because it was so bad. Um,
Dude, let me tell you, when that game first came out, I went home that day, the day that it came out 40 years ago. You know, because I was alive
go on.
and went home and played it, and yeah, it was weird to play that after
Mhm.
playing it in the arcade.
What were you, -7 years old at that point?
What was it, 40 years ago? Yeah, I was like
Yeah.
-7.
Oh man.
Dude, I'm reading a really good book about game history right now.
Mhm.
Let me see if I can grab what it's called. I think it's Game On. Let me see. And it goes through like the history of gaming, and it talks about a bunch of things. Like it basically starts off like the Atari days,
Mhm.
and it hits like I mean, it talks about like ET. It talks about um the one of the first football games ever made, et cetera, et cetera. And reading some of this stuff about like how it was back then and everything, like it's wild I don't know. I'd have to pull examples out of the book, but like it's crazy to hear some of the stuff they talk about, like like development companies and the things they did. Dude, Tetris is a wild one. Do you know a story about how Tetris happened?
I know a little bit about the backstory of it. I know the guy. It was technically okay. So the guy developed the game on the clock while working for the Russian government. So they basically like
Yep.
took all of the rights to it because it was like it's government property because you worked on it here. The guy made like no money on it, and then I know there was like a humongous fucking feud over the rights of it. Um,
Yeah.
and then
So
Nintendo, I think, got paid. Or, no, it was like Tenjin or something. They released the game, and then Nintendo got the rights for it, so the game had to be recalled, and so Nintendo could put out their copy of it. It was a fucking wild fight,
Souls.
but
Sorry, at least just writing something went off screen.
that's okay.
Um no, like it, dude, it's even wilder. So like the guy made the game because he wanted people to be involved in like math and stuff.
Hmm.
So he made the game, and the game got really popular, and there wasn't like really IP protection at the time because it was the Wild West of games and stuff.
Sure.
And a bunch of other people made knockoffs of it, and I think it was like an American developer or a Japanese developer. Someone else outside of Russia developed a clone of it
Hmm.
and brought the clone to them, and Nintendo said, "We'll take it." And then it had already been published on multiple platforms by a bunch of other people in different places and things. And so Nintendo like went around trying to fix it, and
Hmm.
they had to go back to Russia and find the dude who made it originally. And they told the Russian government that Tetris was theirs, and they didn't even know because they didn't even know the dude had made it yet. And they were like, "What?" So Nintendo was like, "Yeah, no, this is actually supposed to be yours. It's your thing. The dude made it under your watch, whatever." And they were like, "Oh, okay." And then, out of respect for the fact that Nintendo and the dude who developed it had come forward and told the Russian government immediately gave all the rights back to Nintendo
Wow.
to make that game and to publish it on the Nintendo system and everything. And that's what caused the recalls of all the other versions and everything, was because Russia was like, it's officially our IP and
Hmm.
Nintendo has the rights to make it. And Nintendo had a really good partnership with Russia because of them coming straight out the box and being like, we actually have your game and on accident or whatever. Um, it was wild. I guess like it's crazy how like that all went down. Um,
And that game fucking exploded, man. When that game went off, it went off. That game was
yeah,
weird because at the time it transcended age beyond like
yeah,
what no other game has ever done. You
dude,
had
absolutely.
parents, people who are like you had like, again, video games were looked at way differently than they are today. So you
Hmm.
had parents who thought games were fucking stupid or a waste of time. You still have that today, but
Yeah, absolutely.
those people were playing it. Grandparents were playing Tetris. Little kids were playing Tetris, and I mean
Yeah,
everyone. Tetris fever was literally a thing. Um, you had everyone playing this fucking game. So it was like that game. I think did a lot for Nintendo as far as perpetuating them to basically have a leading command in the gaming industry at the time. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
oh yeah, that's. I mean, it's Tetris is still one of the biggest games in the world.
What
Um,
was like, what was it? They were talking about Mario was already out and doing well, and they wanted something to put on the Game Boy to sell Game Boys, and they didn't really have. I guess they didn't think Mario would be the way to go. They thought it was a smart move to do Mario because obviously like Nintendo and Mario were doing well.
mhm.
But they wanted something else that, like you said, they wanted something that wouldn't just be like gamer recognized. They wanted something not generic, but something like you said, universal and timeless. Um, and that was what they went with, and that's how it ended up being. That was like a dude showed them Tetris, and they were like, "Fuck yeah, let's do this." And that's when they were like, the guy who made it was like, "Listen, I got to be honest, I got it from a dude in Russia," and Nintendo was like, "Oh, let's go talk to them," and that's what led to the whole thing or whatever. Um, and it's wild because, like you said, not many games pull that off. I mean, sometimes you'll see things like Wii bowling. Well, I mean, it's the Wii Sports, but like that's another example of like everybody picking up that console and doing something with it,
Mhm.
and it not being that weird to find anyone from any age range being like, "Yeah, I play Wii bowling" or whatever. Like,
It's funny that you mentioned
but
that.
it,
I'm looking at the top sales of games of all time. Tetris is at number 3 under EA's banner. Wii Sports is
yep,
under it at fourth place. Tetris is back on it again at the top slot at the 10th slot under Nintendo's banner. That's
yep,
how pivotal Tetris was. It's on there
oh,
twice
absolutely.
on the top 10.
Oh, dude, yeah, there was a million things about Tetris that like set up some stuff to come later, like
Mhm.
giving the things personality. The Tetraminos like had names and everything.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it was wild. A lot of things happened there. But yeah,
Yes.
no, it was just crazy to see. I mean, you'll have to check this book out at some point if you get time,
Mhm.
or something, or I'll talk about it on stream when I finish it, maybe. But like, there's so many cool things in that book about gaming history that, like, obviously it predates my even existence in
Sure.
some cases. Much less like I didn't even get into games until I mean, I guess I can't say I didn't get into, but like, who really considers gaming as a medium that they can actually interact with on a meaningful level until they're like in their teens, right? Like,
Mhm.
because before that, it's like they're fun and you play them because they're fun or something.
Yeah.
So it's just wild to see like all the changes they made over the years.
Yeah,
The
I
Madden one is weird too. How Madden came together and became a thing is really bizarre.
how's that?
It's sort of like the Kingdom Hearts thing. Like they just happened to like get a meeting. Like a developer got a meeting with
Hmm.
John Madden himself, and was like, "Wouldn't it be crazy if we made a football game about like a football video game?" And he was like, "You know what? Fuck it, let's do it." And they were like, "Really?" And they spent like years making it because they kept having to have meetings with him, and he kept having like he was a stickler on getting the details right. So
Mhm.
like the models had to be changed. You had to have weather options. He wouldn't let the game launch unless you had weather options. He wouldn't let the game launch
I
unless
love
you
it.
had all these different things because Madden was really passionate about football and he would not
Oh,
let it
yeah.
be like a cash in. It had to be a legitimate good experience for football or reflective of football,
And I'll tell you right
which is
now, and I will die on this hill, Madden 95 is still one of the best football games of all time.
I think in the book they talk about Madden like 92 maybe.
Mhm. 92 was a
One of
big
the
one. 92 or
one of the
93, they were
earlier
big ones
ones.
because that was like one of the first on the Genesis, maybe.
Yeah, something like
But
that.
95 was like where everything just kind of really came together with that engine
Yeah.
and everything. It looked so good. Let me see if that's on the list here.
But it's so funny because like they'll talk about how like he wouldn't let them release the game unless like he felt like the grunts sounded good
Hmm.
and the impact made sense and like the plays were accurate. Like he did all this. He kept having these meetings and working with them and being like, "It's got to be right. It's got to be right. It's got to be right." But then there was things where like the game launched and like for example, like if a player got injured, the ambulance would fucking run people over. Have you ever seen that?
Yes.
They would fucking just plow through the teams to get to the person who was injured and then like take them and then leave.
Yup.
and like and like Madden was like, yeah, that's fine. And it was like, does that happen in football games in the 90s? Was I not watching? Like
Oh, I wish. I'll tell you
oh
what was
man.
another weird game. Same publisher, EA. And it was on the Madden engine. Was Mutant League Football, and
Oh
Mutant
yeah,
League
yeah.
Football was basically like Madden, except all the stadiums were like different, very different. Like one was on an asteroid, one was in a space prison. Um,
Yeah.
and like sometimes there was just holes in the field, and like your player ran through the hole. It's like you just get vacuumed, man. Sometimes if you tackled hard enough, you would just vaporize the other player to just be like a blood pool on the field for the rest of the game.
Oh my God.
It was incredible. I oh man, now I have an urge to go play it. God damn it! But yeah, oh that game was fucking amazing.
That's funny. I think I had like I'm gonna guess I had Madden 95 for the Super Nintendo as well.
Yeah, Madden 95
And
was the shit.
I don't even play I don't like football or play football games or
Me either.
football in general.
I
And I
like
played Madden all the time.
yeah, I was more into sports back then than I am now. I'm absolutely zero interested in sports now. I could tell you,
Yeah.
I probably would not like the Madden offering that we have today. Even like Madden
I almost
2000 that came out on the PlayStation, I was like, this isn't Madden 95.
I almost just think it was a combination of like that thing where like when you're a kid or younger, like the games you play are just whatever whoever gets, you rent it or you're someone buys it and you're like, well, it's a game. I have it now, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll play it. And then like and then on top of that you had like the game part of the game is fine, like trying to maneuver around people who are trying to stop you from getting to the end zone or like picking your passes and throws. Like it was a gamified game to the point where it was fun enough to interact with back then.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing it was just those things combined to like make it like a universal game that people played when they were younger. And it wasn't like it could have been anything other than football, and it would still be like a thing you would have done because of what it was. Like
Yeah, definitely.
that's funny how that works.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a good read.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. That sounds really good. All right, kids. Well, I think that's all we have this week. I'm surprised we got this show done in the time we did because we had a lot of content here. I'm glad we got through it in a timely
It's only
fashion.
11:20. Oh, here, have I ever explained to you my 35-minute spiel on video games and how we use fruits as power ups?
Oh my god.
How it's big fruit trying to convince people to buy more fruit.
It's just big fruit at it again.
Big fruit. What was that one we had? That we had a whole spiel going about Big Fork or whatever, like
Big
trying to
fork.
sell people forks.
Oh yeah. Was that a Borderlands conversation?
I think it was a Borderlands conversation. Yeah,
Sounds
Big
about right.
Fork.
I
I
love
just
it.
don't remember like how did we get on that?
That's great.
Oh my god.
Yeah, make sure you tune in. I'm going to try and do a stream tomorrow for at least this guy here. We're gonna put a non-solder kit into this. I already have it here. Got it from Handheld Legend, who is my sponsor. So if you go to handheldlegend.com/retro game dude, you can also get discounts and deals on stuff as well. So make sure you go check them out. That was a very impromptu advertisement. Didn't think I was going to get that one in there today. So yeah, handheldlegend.com/retro game dude, and get yourself some savings on retro parts if you want to make your own Game Boy Advance backlit kits as well.
Yeah.
So,
Oh boy. That's yeah, you do that tomorrow, and then I will do what I always do this week and say that I will totally stream Chrono Trigger.
nice. Hey, thanks for the link.
It's gonna have yeah, I figured I threw that in there for you.
Nice. So we have obviously social media stuff, Discord. That is right here for anyone who's out there who wants to join our Discord because we do obviously Jackbox stuff on Saturday nights. Everyone's invited to come and hang out. We always have a good time. We have okay. Let's go do our social media stuff here. Game Dude Retro at Twitter and Instagram. Retro Game Dude at Twitch and TikTok. Schedule obviously SuperScope podcasts on Sunday, Destiny Tuesdays, the Flex stream on Wednesday, which I'm very confident I will be playing something other than Destiny on Wednesday, and Jackbox night, and sometimes we do Gartic Phone too on Saturdays. Always a fun time. Hope to see people there. And if there's anything we missed, let us know in the comments below on YouTube. And of course, we are live every Sunday at 9 p.m., 9-ish p.m. So make sure you join the Discord so you don't miss that announcement when we go live. Dice K, where can we find you, and are you going to be streaming anything anytime soon?
I'm still Phoenix underscore Aurora underscore gaming on Twitch. And if I stream anything, that's where it'll be. I may have something either I stream this week or I might have to make you stream this week.
Ooh.
But I'll leave that as a surprise for people who tune in because it's retro game affiliated, in my opinion.
Is it that game you were showing me the other week?
No, actually, but I need to make you play that as well. That was
Excellent.
Faith.
Faith, yes.
And I should definitely make you play those games. But no, this is actually a game I follow on Twitter. It's a game called, I believe it's called Beast Boy.
I
Oh, no, sorry. It's a company called Berserk Boy Games, and the first game they're making, I believe, is just called Berserk Boy, and it's like a Mega Man X feeling looking kind of game, and it just went up on beta. So if you join the Discord, you can get access to their beta. So I was going to either A, play it on stream, or B, force you to play it on stream.
I'm
um,
looking. I'm watching the trailer right now without
it looks
any audio.
awesome.
It does look awesome. Ooh. Oh.
Yeah, it looks
Okay.
really rad. So I was like, I just remembered, I was like, I gotta let you know that it exists because you can just get in the beta. I literally just joined the Discord, clicked the link, it brought me to Steam page. Steam was like, do you want to be in the beta? I said yes, and then they were like, okay, go ahead. And now it's available as a play. So, um, an open beta too, so you could just hop in and
Oh
go,
yeah.
and I think it has a feedback thing at
Access
the
granted.
end.
Boom.
Yeah, you just go. But I was like,
Cool.
it definitely seems like something you'd want to mess around with, and it would make a good off stream because it's not part of your normal repertoire. Like you said, you want to do something Wednesday. It's not Destiny.
Sure.
Well, there you go.
Nice. I like it. I like it a lot. All right. Well, that is going to be the show tonight, and make sure you join us again next week for some more Super Scope podcasts, 9 p.m. ish Sunday night. Thanks again for everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next week.